A musician falls into a manhole and must spend his time in the afterlife chasing his dreams and his body.
Welcome to the Walt Vault with Andre,
Michelle,
Emily,
And Luis.
We are a family-friendly podcast where each and every week we watch and review a different Disney movie. Be sure to subscribe on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the Walt Vault 2021.
oh my god.
Oh,
That's right. We are in a new year.
We in a new year, but we're not in a
new year, new strain of COVID.
How dare you?
COVID-20 is here
Good God.
for all
The
of us.
new line of COVID.
COVID 20.
Come to
Oh,
our end of the year sale on pre-COVID.
Prepare for the apocalypse.
uh,
Apocalypse.
Oh, dude, you guys, man, I need to record that commercial. But there's this new Match commercial.
commercial.
You
Match
guys
like
need to say it.
Match.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the one with Satan where he's on Match and he's depressed and he finds a girl. Her name is 2020.
And he keeps calling her 2020, and she's like, I'm 2020.
Call me 2020. Anyways, look it up. You listeners, look it up as well. It's pretty funny if you ask
It's
me.
hilarious because of the dates they go on are like the kind of dates that Satan in 2020 would go on together.
Hilarious. I want
It's
to watch
quite
it.
hilarious, and it's literally a Match.com commercial. And you're like, well, everybody can find somebody. Oh, boy.
The Javelin 2020. That's hilarious.
Together at last. This week we are talking about the 2020 animated Pixar film Soul.
I
You
was
almost said
confused.
live action.
I know.
I was confused because, so I saw the Disney logo, I saw the Pixar logo thing,
Uh-huh.
and then it pops up Disney Plus Original, and I was
Right.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then in my head I was like, so what do we categorize this? I mean, people are still calling it a Pixar movie.
I think because it debuted
Yes.
on Disney Plus.
It is a Pixar movie.
Pixar movie.
And in areas where Disney Plus doesn't exist, it was released in theaters.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know.
So it has a couple box office
They're probably
dollars.
just putting that on there because, like, well, we released it on here, so it's an original.
Right, exactly.
We know, like, it's
yeah.
fucking-
Okay.
No
Just
people
to-
in Taiwan are over there watching it in theaters, so
They are, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. The money is rolling in fast. This movie was directed by Pete Docter and stars Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Graham Norton, Richard Ayoade, and
What else has Pete Docter done? Because I swear he just did he do The Crown?
The Crown. I don't think so. Let
Am
me
I
see
just
here.
making this up? Because I feel like I've seen the name Pete Docter everywhere. Or maybe it's just because I watched too many Disney movies. I don't know.
He's been with Pixar from the beginning. So he was a writer on the Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and Monsters Inc. and stuff
Okay.
like that. He directed Up and Inside Out and Soul.
That makes sense.
No
to
wonder.
Yeah.
That actually really makes sense.
He also
to me.
wrote on WALL-E.
They all have very similar vibes.
Yes.
and he did voices on.
He
Okay,
did
so I'm just
Wall-E.
Basically
making that up
every
on
movie.
the other one.
Yeah, I don't think he. Yeah, no, The Crown. Just Pixar stuff.
Let me do my own do-do-do-do-dos over here.
Do to you.
So let's go ahead and get into our first impressions. Luis, first impression of Soul.
it was a good movie. I liked it. I kind of wish I liked Jazz a lot more than I did.
His name was Peter Morgan. That's why I'm
You
confused.
know?
Whose name is
You don't
Peter
really
Morgan?
like Jazz?
the
He's
guy who
leader
did
of
The
the
Crown.
Not that I don't really like it. It's just like when I listen to it, I like it a lot.
Uh-huh.
But it's almost like a type of music that I never really listened to for no other reason except I just didn't listen to it.
Right. It's
You know,
just
I didn't
there.
grow up in a culture and an environment where I would have listened to it. You know,
That's true.
Yeah.
I was in a jazz choir though, with a lot of skeet scat and boopity boop boop.
Skeet scat.
well,
Skeet, scat, and
you
boopity
know,
boop
correct
boops.
me if
Please.
I'm wrong.
Please take that back. That's literally hurting my insides. Skeet
But
scat.
correct me if I'm wrong. You know, I'm not. I'm an outsider here. But to me, on the outside, it seems to me like high school jazz, anything really is just not the soul of what jazz is.
Right. It's
Well,
not.
definitely not.
It's not as
And that's what
jazzy
that's
as jazz.
It's more like a style of jazz,
Right.
I would
Yeah.
say.
And even college jazz, I would say, kind of fits along that style, and it isn't until you like hanging out in the club
Yeah, you feeling
and
it.
it's smoky in there,
Yeah.
I mean,
and you've
if
had
it-
a
if
drink
it
and a
isn't-
half.
If it isn't Scab Cat and everybody, I don't want to hear it.
Everybody.
I've never wanted to be a cat, so it's not ever happened to me.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to say my first impression. Going into it, I tried not to watch a lot of trailers because when I watched the first trailer, like when they announced this movie, I went, it's almost the same thing as Inside Out. Like it had a very similar vibe to me. Instead of emotions, it was a soul or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
So I was kind of like, okay, I'm just not going to watch really a lot of trailers because otherwise I'm going to like overgeneralize it or something. But it was good. I really liked it. I did think that it might not be something that a kid would want to watch. Like I couldn't see a
We
kid.
watched it with Addie and Ollie, and they were quiet.
Yeah.
They liked it.
Never
They
into
were
it?
silent.
I
They
just
w-
thought it had
Again.
very adult themes.
Very much so.
And
Right.
there wasn't like the little
22.
she was fun.
Mhm.
Like she was cute, but
Addie
she
was
wasn't
like, "Where's 22?"
okay. So
No,
maybe
no, she asked a lot of questions, but a lot of the questions she was asking was very ethereal.
Mm.
Like, where he
Ethereal.
going?
I don't know what in the world that word is, but are you
Where
like
he going?
hypotheticals? Like or
just simple,
Or ethereal, like they're.
That's
like,
what I meant to say. Etherical.
ethereal.
okay.
Yeah, that one exactly. Etherical.
But I
So-
don't think ethereal works
Well,
in that
I'm
context.
happy she enjoyed it, but I thought maybe from a kid perspective that like that might have been the only thing they would have gravitated towards was 22.
Sure.
It was more adult themed to me.
But then
Um,
again,
but
she's
very
3.
fitting.
Like I don't know what a 12-year-old would have thought.
Sure.
I don't know.
But I
so
thought- oh,
I
go
thought
ahead.
it was geared more towards like a teenage or like young adult. Well, I mean, I really liked it, but I was trying to think from like a kid's mind, like, oh, they're gonna pop on Toy Story. They're not gonna be like, Mommy, put on Soul. But it was a really good movie. It was like a solid, good life lesson. Like at the base of it, Pixar movies have that kind of at the base of it.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. Emily.
I liked it, didn't love it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm interested to talk about it right now because I have questions that we probably won't be able to answer.
Oh.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
42
But like
style
we also
questions.
Luis and I also came up with some like hypotheticals on what we would have liked or
Mhm.
what we didn't have that we would have wanted
Okay.
or what we didn't particularly love, just things we might change to have maybe liked it a little bit better. But overall, I liked it. But I was left wanting. I don't know if it's
Wanting.
more
I think
or.
it needed, maybe you'll agree with me, it needed a little more whimsy.
Whimsy.
Like it was kind of whimsy, but not whimsy enough.
Yeah, I don't know. There were certain things I really liked, and then there were certain things where
there wasn't a closure for you.
Maybe.
There wasn't a full circle closure for you.
I sometimes like the full circle, and I didn't feel. Yeah, I
Yeah.
felt like this was a
Oh,
semi.
by the way, since this movie just came out, I mean, we are gonna just like we do with every.
we
other
gonna
movie,
spoil
we're,
the shit
we're
out of
gonna
it. Oh,
spoil
cool,
it. Oh
sorry.
yeah, that's right. We're also not cursing on this one. It's okay.
I mean, they shouldn't have put this on if they didn't want us to.
Yeah. So
You just listening. That's your problem.
yeah, with
Back it
the,
up.
with the ambiguity thing, like I was definitely expecting to see like 22 as a person at the end of this movie.
For sure.
You know.
That's exactly
And
what
we
me
never
and
saw
Nims-
that.
Yeah, 100%. We agree. We're like, wait a minute.
That would have been
It's
cool.
over.
There was multiple things that I wanted to see that I didn't see,
Right.
and I didn't like that. Which I mean, maybe people would have been like, it's too.
On the nose.
Yeah, it's too like pointed. Like, well, there's 22 walking down the street, but like,
Right.
I don't know. I
It's
kind
kind
of
of
would
what
like
this
that.
director was going for, I guess. But
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to say with my first impression was I just forgot it. I don't know.
Or like,
I'm
you
sure it'll
know,
pop back up in a second. and I'll say it then.
Can we talk about how?
Oh,
we
I had
wanted
no
it?
idea what it was about. That was my first impression.
Oh.
Was that I literally thought it was going to be about like I thought it was going to be about soul food.
Oh.
because you
literally-
hadn't watched
I didn't
anything,
watch
right?
You
any-
didn't watch any trailer.
No, so I didn't.
watched one trailer by accident.
So I thought it was going to be
What it
about
was
like
about.
food, like not music. So then when we started watching it, I
That
was
could
like,
have been good.
this really awful band is going to be hilarious.
It's a
Like I
whole
thought it
bunch
was.
of just
Oh, the middle school band
'Cause it
was,
was just
funny.
a middle
chitlins
school-
walking around
Oh
and personified.
All right, Andre, first impression.
I like this a lot, actually. I think I'm more hip on it than maybe anybody. Oh, maybe I like it just as much as Louise liked it. I thought this was really fun and very smartly written. And I think that in terms of like the kids glomming onto it kind of stuff, I think that him body switching with the cat and then 22 body switching with him, I think
kinda forgot about
that
the cat.
adds that adds a lot of the whimsy you guys are talking about into the movie
cat
for
was
me.
pretty funny. I did like
The
that.
cat was really funny, and then 22 trying to behave like a human even though they've never been a human before was pretty good for me. I think overall this movie nails it as a Pixar film.
Oh, yeah.
It has like all of those aspects. I would say that against some of the other ones, I think probably Inside Out is more touching of a movie to me, and it even has a bit more whimsy. But maybe this is like Inside Out's like little brother to me. It's really good. It has all of that
This
good
is
stuff
more
that you want.
poignant though
Right.
than that was.
But
Right,
also,
yeah.
I think it was kind of fitting for the times.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Like, go out there. Well, I guess we can't really go out there, but you know what I
Stay
mean.
in
Like,
there.
are you ready to live? Like
Yeah.
when they were like, "You ready to live?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I guess I'm ready to live." I guess
Sorry,
so.
Andre.
So it was kind of taking that more
Yeah.
backward perspective, where like in this pandemic, we're kind of stepping back and looking at the world in a new light. Where I felt like this movie was kind of relevant to that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So that was like really cool.
You know what I would have loved to have seen, and I know that I think this is where, and did we talk about this on the episode, or did we just talk about this like amongst each other? That we were talking about media coming out in pandemic times
Right.
that is relevant to how we feel, and how like we're gonna start seeing more things where people are masked.
Oh, right.
And-
I don't think we talked about this on the show.
Okay, sorry. Well, listeners, we had this really
It's a very
kind
good
of lengthy conversation about what media will look like moving forward, and like when they start making movies about the pandemic and
Right.
what that will look
or
like.
or how in the commercials where it was like, "This is made socially
Yes,
distanced,"
and how all the actors are like super far apart from each other, like yelling.
Right. And everything.
But there was multiple moments in this movie where I almost expected to see them have masked animated characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because I felt the relevance
Right.
of the time.
Because it feels
like
so
in the
now.
barbershop. I
Yeah.
was like, they ain't got the mask on.
I know it
Right.
felt like it was happening right now.
Barbershop's still open.
So in that way, I agree with you. Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if they had just gone back in, and I don't know if you can animate over the top of 3D animation.
I mean, but then they would have had to change all kinds of other stuff, right?
'Cause then they
Like
would have been
people-
in a
people in the
pandemic.
background would have had to have been all different.
They should
and-
make some Pixar shorts like that,
agreed.
where
Yeah.
it's like pandemic-esque. That'd be, and to put it on for kids and be like, "This is
Yeah.
what,"
This is what's
almost like
happening.
an expectation kind of thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk about. I hadn't really watched a lot of trailers for this, but I did watch on the Disney, the Pixar Gallery. I had watched the episode that was about one of the writers.
Yeesh.
I can't remember his name, babe, but he specifically, and it was like a 15-minute episode. I highly recommend you go watch it, either before or after. I kind of liked watching it before because it set me up for the movie a little bit. But he was talking about his job was to make this movie feel authentically black. So whether it was like the rendering of black hair on screen, or it was
Which did look very, very
which
good.
did look very good,
in the
like
movie.
the girl, the saxophonist.
Yeah.
I was really looking at
Dorothea.
her hair
Dorothea
because they
Williams.
talked about her hair a lot
Right.
and how, think about Sully and
Yeah.
how much they put into the hair. So they were trying to do that. But he was like, well, there needs to be a scene that's authentically black that makes it feel like he's black.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
because right now he's just kind of a character and he likes jazz music, sure. But like,
Yeah.
I
Anybody can like jazz.
didn't, so that his job was the barbershop scene.
His name is
And-
Kemp Powers.
Yes. So he talks about the barbershop scene and how he went to barbershops and it's like the one space in a black community where you can be a lawyer, you can be a thug, you can be whatever, but they all go to the barbershop to get their hair cut and there's no judgment there or
Everybody
whatever.
the same in there.
And that was my favorite scene in the movie.
It was my favorite scene too.
So
It
it
was
was
a
very
fantastic
interesting watching that before watching this
Yeah.
movie. So I think I was looking at it more with that critical eye of like, ooh, where did he put in some authentic black authenticity in this movie?
Yeah.
But definitely the barbershop scene did that. Do you agree with me?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now
You had watched that
let
beforehand,
me disclose this to all the listeners out
that
there.
you don't go to the barbershop?
I do not go to the barbershop.
That
Shave
Andre-
your head at home?
But Andre is a black man.
Yeah, so
But your
everything else.
your dad or your brother does.
My brother absolutely
Your brother
does.
all the time. Every time he's like, if you weren't wearing hats before and your head was hecka fuzzy, like because you hadn't shaved it, he'd be like, "You're gonna take him to go get his hair lined up." Like he would always ask me, like, "Why don't you just take him to the barbershop and get his hair lined up?" I'm like, "Oh, Andre doesn't do that," but he would always look at me like I'm insane because you wouldn't do it.
Right.
You know?
My father taught
You
us.
can't be looking like that.
My father taught us to just, buzz cut our own hair because he was in the military and that's what he did. And I found that to be extremely simple and very
cost efficient,
and very
y'all.
cost efficient and very effective. My brother, on the other hand, always wanted to express himself through his hair, so he would go and get cool haircuts at the barbershop, and I was like, "That's too expensive for me."
Think about your sister; they got to
For
do
my
their edges.
blood.
Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, she's got like hair.
Well, speaking from a woman who's
But-
been to a barbershop, can I do that?
I will say that everyone in the barbershop felt authentically black, and I've seen the movie Barbershop, if that counts for anything.
Oh my
and
gosh.
it felt very much like a real place with
I
real,
really like
with real
that
people. The
scene.
fact that they were all clowning on that one dude
was so funny.
Oh,
was
Daveed Diggs?
so funny.
So
Yes.
funny.
Yes, Paul.
He was like the young, like,
It says he's Joe's nemesis.
that was so funny.
But yeah, it was a very, very good scene. Very well done.
I agree.
And I think that the animation in this movie is
Beautiful.
out of this world.
I mean, like where
gorgeous.
they did like the wool suit, I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
you
See
can see
the
it. The fibers.
texture. Yeah, the fibers.
everything looked good. Like from their shiny skin. Like everybody's skin looked really good in this movie.
Yeah, Dorothea literally looked like she was wearing highlighter.
Right. Yeah,
like
yeah,
her
yeah.
makeup looked like real makeup with light hitting it at the right direction.
Everything
it was
they
gorgeous.
Pixar does with animation is top notch.
Right.
But Emily, were you gonna say something about your barbershop?
Oh yeah, because now I'm
Was
a
it-
woman who's been to a barbershop, right?
But is it like a Mexican barbershop?
What does it matter? Yeah, it was a Mexican barbershop.
Because we're from the valley.
Well, and I don't know if Luis would take me to a black barbershop, but
Right.
There's honestly not too much of a difference, if you ask me. It's more of a cultural thing. in
Right.
It's just
own
where they
world.
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really funny because Luis, like, y'all probably know, I had surgery a couple months ago, and so I shaved all my hair off because it's easier to start over than to have like a.
quite easy.
Yeah, I might just totally buzz it like on.
I remember you guys were like buzz cut buddies.
We
Hey, you're
were.
shaving your head? Okay.
Okay. And I actually had shorter hair than Andre at a point.
You
Anywho,
did?
That's true.
Not anymore, but.
No, not anymore. But so Luis was like, "Yeah, I'll take you to my barber. I'll get you all like faded and this and that. Not that kind of faded, but
Lined up.
lined up." Anywho, so when we left the first time, Luis was like, "How'd you feel? Were you nervous?" And I was like, "Not so much, but I feel like it's totally different because when a woman usually goes into a salon, it's just a whole different vibe. Like you're going in for pampering. When you're going into a barbershop, it's like you're going into bull. Like, sorry that you have to do
some
that, but
dudes definitely go into the barbershop to get pampered.
I suppose. But like
Maybe.
it's just I feel like they're going in there, they're like buds, they're gonna talk
Right.
about people, and like when we go, like we were capping on people the whole time, and like the barber is Luis's friend, so he was like talking about him. He's like, "Why'd you marry this fool? Like, you know him?" I was like, "Yeah, I know him."
Just like how they were in the
Yes!
scene, like picking on each
It
other.
was hilarious
Right.
because when we were watching that scene, I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of exactly what I felt like."
But one of my favorite.
So we did a good job on that scene then.
Yes,
One
he
of my
did.
I saw
favorite
he did.
videos I've
Yeah.
ever seen. This is a non sequitur, but one of my favorite videos is this kid and he's in like a Jamaican barbershop and the two barbers are like talking to each other like, "Yeah, Bumba Clot, he was all upon me, man, and I had to tell him." I said,
Oh, I know
"No,
which one you're
thank you."
talking about.
And the kid is looking in between the barbers and nobody's cutting his hair. He's like, "Yo, cut my hair! Stop talking all of that Bumba Clot mess and cut my hair, bro!" It was so funny.
Where are the frost on? Everything you live. So how much what back in there?
Yo, bro, just cut my hair, bro. Shut up and cut my hair. Can't talk about nothing. Last night, crazy bomber class, yeah, again. Cut my hair, bro. What's up, like? I just want a haircut, bro. I look bad, bro. Bomba clot last night was crazy. Goddamn drink, smoke, everything. Cut the hair, bro. Go cut his hair. Cut his hair. Cut his hair. Cut his hair. He is yourself. Cut his hair. Yo, bro, come cut.
And I think that would be me.
Okay, so somebody needs to find
yeah,
that video
for
and
real.
put that in
Louise, find that video.
That
Mr.
one
Mr.
was
Meme College.
hecka funny, man.
Hilarious.
Mr. Meme College. She told you.
Well, this isn't 420 College, okay? This is a very reputable university.
420 college.
Okay?
What were we talking about?
Well, I just wanted to talk about how I kind of went into it because I saw that with this critical eye of like, I'm looking for in this movie what made this movie like authentic or whatever.
Sure.
So that was very interesting when on Christmas Day we went to your family's house and your dad will watch a movie as soon as it releases at midnight because that's how your dad rolls. You guys are twinsies.
Yeah.
He was like, I didn't like it. He didn't like the movie and your sister fell asleep. And I was like, oh. Like they thought it was boring.
I mean,
Which was interesting to me.
I don't
It
think that's
wasn't hugely action packed,
sure. Yeah, that's true.
but it
It's
I don't
it's a
know.
little slow, I would say.
I mean, I
But-
didn't find it to be slow.
I don't know.
And I don't think that my family's like like or dislike is like an indictment on the blackness of this movie.
No, it doesn't.
necessarily.
I'm just saying I thought it was interesting that they didn't really like it.
Right. Yeah, but I didn't agree with them, and I think when he told us that, it was before we had watched it, and I went in completely disregarding anything either of them said.
He also didn't like the Wonder Woman
'cause
movie
I've-
though, and I kind of liked
Because
it.
I've grown up watching movies with them, and so I know that their tastes don't necessarily align perfectly with mine.
That's
Right.
true.
Right. So I didn't really let them color my my experience of the
Well, I did. I was a little worried, but I like
Right.
it.
So let's talk plot because my overall thought about this movie is that they oversimplified certain parts of the plot
Mhm.
that are very complex when we get to like where he dies and stuff.
Sure.
But then they also like made certain things very complex that I wish they would have explained more. So I think I was trying to understand what was happening more going into it because I didn't know that it was about them being souls. I
Right.
literally was like, what the heck is happening? While he was like already dead and stuff, and I kept looking at Lucy. I'm like, is he freaking dead? Is he dead?
I knew he was
Is
gonna-
he dead?
I knew he was going to die and become a
Right.
soul because the only trailer I had seen was him falling in the pothole and dying.
He falls in
like
the-
right when he's supposed to get his big break.
In the
That's what they
trailer,
were saying.
he falls in the manhole.
Oh my gosh, I should have
and
watched
then
that, I
he,
guess.
he it shows him as the Blob, and then he's like talking to 22, who is like another solely Blob, and
Yeah.
so like that's like all I knew about the movie. I didn't realize the detail with which they were going to go into
I knew
about
that
the
he was-
afterlife and how it works, and
Yeah.
the Jerrys and the Terrys and all of these.
I love
Aries.
Terry. He was funny.
Terry, played by a woman.
thought-
FYI,
Yes,
did you
yes,
know
yes.
that Terry is
No.
played by a woman?
She was played
Hilarious.
by
Well, Terry was funny. But I almost
Rachel
thought
House.
that I didn't have too much of the connection with the character before he died. So when he died, I was like, bro, you got to watch where you're going.
Yeah, I
Like,
was like-
I didn't care that he died. That sounds bad.
No.
But, like, when he died, I was like,
Well, because
oh.
he was kind of self-absorbed.
Well, okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
so
but
the,
I think that was the point. But
the movie begins, and it's Joe, and he's teaching a jazz class.
that
in-
was funny. It was like a
in-
middle school.
in middle school. Everybody
Way off key.
Everybody's playing pretty badly. It reminds me of middle school. They nailed that part.
For sure.
He's in there, and he's trying to get them into it, and none of them care except for like one kid. And so
But it was the scene was very cute. It was done very well. Like the one kid has his trumpet and he's like sucking in instead of blowing out of the horn, and he's like sucking up Skittles. And then another kid's like texting.
oh yeah, that's right.
The one kid forgot her saxophone and is just curled up on a
I
chair.
forgot.
Like that really is middle school. Oh my god, it was really
To a
ridiculous.
T.
Yes, and then one kid, Connie, she picks up her trombone and she starts wailing on that thing, in a good way. And
The kids laugh at her.
right, the kids all laugh because they're mean and their hormones are out of balance. And Joe he starts proclaiming to the class that like this is what jazz is all about, and this is where he explains his deep love for jazz, and he starts tinkling away on the piano, and he gets in the zone, and he's feeling it, and he's seeing the pink hearts around his head and stuff like that. And so I think that I was in tune with Joe by the time that he died, from seeing his love for jazz and how much he loves jazz and how much he wants to be a jazz player, and his disdain for high school or middle school teaching, and then him getting his big break. I'm like, all right, I'm excited for Joe. And then
I was excited for him, but I think they should have shown. They showed the scene where his mom was like, wow, you got a job offer to be full-time teacher. You need to take it, right? You get a pension, you get insurance, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, nah, Mom, it's not really what I want to do. But I, didn't understand why it wasn't what he wanted to do yet. Because I was like, well, you're playing music. You're teaching the future musicians. I thought that was cool. I thought they should have showed the scene with the dad before he died. Remember how he was talking to the mom, and did a flashback to, his dad, I don't like jazz. You're taking me to this jazz concert?
Oh, right.
All of that. Because then when he died, I was like, well, you was kind of being a brat.
You didn't get it from her saying you can finally have a steady job.
Stop
finally.
doing all those
You didn't get it
gigs.
that was what he was
I mean,
doing
I
the
knew it was his
background stuff?
passion, but I wanted, the backstory of the passion more at the
that
beginning.
point.
At that point.
Gotcha.
I can understand that. It was interesting because that whole, okay, so for me, I don't agree with you only because I have a very different personal experience, which I feel like made me connect more with Joe. But, so when I was in high school, my dad, I think I might have told this on the podcast before. Who knows? Or maybe I just told you guys. But, in high school, my dad took me and some of my friends, some of our friends, whatever, to, it sounds like bad, but underground blues clubs, in Modesto and stuff.
Cool.
And it reminded me very much of that scene with Joe and his dad. And the only reason it's a little taboo is because they definitely were serving alcohol, and we definitely should not have been there.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't doing anything nefarious. They weren't doing anything nefarious to us, and they literally knew my dad, so they were like, "You guys sit over there," and then we drank soda and got up and danced a little bit or whatever.
It's all cool.
Yeah, it was all cool,
It's
brother.
all gravy.
And a couple of my friends would get up and jam with the blues players and stuff, which was really cool. So for me, in that experience, that opened my eyes to a different type of performing, because I guess when you're in choir and stuff, you think of performing, it's up on a stage and you're singing.
My suit doesn't fit.
Yeah, exactly. Let me sing about Broadway. That's not all there is. There's all kinds of other things to do, and that whole gigging atmosphere is so. Oh God, it's so touchy-feely. It's touch and go. So it was interesting that he's trying to make his living off of that, which is, you have to be so good
Yeah.
to be able to make a living like that.
Which so I was why can't he just do this on the side and do the teaching thing? That's cool.
He's in his 40s. I'm right in Joe's shoes. I do comedy on the side, and I would love it for it to be my full-time career, and that probably will not happen, or
well, especially in a corona era,
right? Exactly.
Unfortunately.
So it just doesn't feel good, but he's trying so hard to make it, and he feels like he's right on the precipice, and it's taken him till his mid-40s to be able to do it. So
I understand
so
that.
He's so steeped in it, and his mom has been on his back about getting a real job this entire time. He's just not into that style of life. He's like, bro, let me get on this stage and let somebody discover me.
I'll be interested. I'm interested though in the fact that he doesn't live at home. I kind of felt like he was living at home.
I kind of felt like
the way that she was speaking to him.
Well, he lives right above her shop, doesn't he?
Oh, I didn't get that.
I think his apartment is right above her shop. So they probably live in the same building.
I did not get that.
Is it? I didn't even realize.
I thought so.
I didn't get that, but that would make more sense because I was wondering, if he's never had a full-time job, how does he have this apartment?
Yeah.
What in the world?
He's been part-timing it for quite some time.
That actually makes sense now that you say it, babe. Though.
So so pretty much he goes to his mom's shop after work and is like, hey mom, got this job offer, boom boom, they want me to be a full-time teacher, and the mom is jazzed. The mom is jazzed as you know what, and is like, cool, I don't have to pay for you anymore, freeloader. Take that insurance. And And then does Curly call him at that point?
Yes, Curly, one of his old students, calls him up. He's like, "Hey, Mr. Joe, I got a opportunity for you. I'm working with this famous jazz musician in New York named Dorothea Williams. She's going to be playing tonight. We lost our pianist, and I said that weird. Pianist.
Pianist.
And
Pianist.
and we need somebody to cover. I said you were perfect for it because I remember you being such a great teacher or whatever. And so he's hyped. He gets very excited. He heads on down to the club, and he dodges death a couple of times on his way there.
Yes,
he's a wild runner. You got to be careful out in these streets, Joe. And he
honestly, that's exactly how you run. Just so you know.
Shut up.
You run exactly like Joe. And Michelle is smiling because it's true.
No,
You run
Yeah, you
exactly
do.
like Joe.
no,
You
dude.
probably dodged
Flailing.
death 25 times on the way over here.
maybe.
Don't look at my door.
Yeah, I
You might
guess.
be dodging death right now.
I'm expecting anvils to start falling, or pianos.
Anvils.
Acme.
So he gets to the club. He meets Dorothea, and she's very
Prima donna.
yeah,
For sure.
I mean,
Well,
I don't
she's
know.
famous,
I don't know
right?
how famous she is. Like I
Sounds
couldn't.
like it.
I couldn't tell if she
He
was
knew
like
who she was.
right, but I couldn't tell if she was like nationally famous or New York famous or Brooklyn famous. Like I couldn't
Sure.
tell where she was on the totem pole.
Well, she was on the not that I know anything about New York, so if you're a New York listener, sorry about it. But I remember watching. Sounds so stupid in context, but watching Luke Cage on Netflix, and it's about a Harlem superhero protecting Harlem,
Right.
right? And so everything about that show revolved around the city and how everything the black characters wanted it to be kept Black Harlem
Right.
because that was the culture of it. And well, I don't know where I was because Luis just
You were
unplugged.
talking about how everything
Black.
wanted to stay authentically Harlem.
You
and
just
within
don't
the
want people to know
culture.
that you just pulled apart the whole mic.
No, I'm just trying to get you back on
No,
track.
you're
girl.
not. You just don't-
You worrying about insignificant things
It
going
was
on right now.
It was Harlem and Luke Cage.
Luke Cage. Okay.
That's right.
That's all I gotta say.
Sassy.
Okay.
No, but to back up what you were saying,
Go ahead.
I used to watch the show, the evolution of hip hop or something like
Uh-huh.
that. It was on
Yeah.
Netflix, and pretty much he talked about how hip hop started and everything, and you knew who the rapper was in Harlem.
Right.
You knew who the main rapper was in Queens. Everybody just knew because that was the culture.
Right.
And it seems like to me, if this is New York, and they are within their, I would even go as far as to say Afro-Hispanic community as well.
Sure.
They all know who the top musician is in their particular field
Absolutely.
when they're local. It's like the underground because you are the underground. The
Right.
underground's you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why
All
it's very
through the
much-
city, probably.
Yeah, all throughout the city of New
It's
York.
like us and E40
E40?
Heck yeah.
knowing about Tell Me When to Go because we all from the Bay.
Bayside.
Except we're not from the Bay, so
But we're close enough.
Hey, we closer than
We're
those
close
people
enough.
out of California. Okay, we
Tell
an
me
hour
when to
away.
go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go.
Biz face.
Tell me when to go.
But anywho,
But yeah.
point being, I think she might have been jazz famous, New York City.
Right.
I don't think nationally, probably not, because it was a relatively small club
Yeah.
and she had residency there.
Yeah.
If
That's
you're
true.
n-
So
if
she
you're-
definitely is a New Yorker.
Yeah. Like if you have a residency at a place, you live there.
Yeah.
You're not traveling usually, or at least not in that 3-month span or whatever.
Right. Exactly. So
And I don't think you have someone just walking off your quartet set.
it's
I mean,
crazy
unless
city.
you're just a crazy pianist that's falling down holes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Manholes.
So he shows up. She starts being her best diva self, and she's like, "Play." And then
Oh
they
my God.
they
I
start-
thought I was going to die.
they start
from
playing immediately. He's like, "Wait, what song are we playing?" And she's like, "Are you playing?" And so he starts tinkling away, and he starts getting into the groove.
I really love that you call it tinkling.
He's tinkling.
Tinkling, yeah.
Ting, 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 ting,
You're not playing chopsticks. Shut up.
That's all I can do on the. Anyway, so he's getting into it, and he's really starting to groove with the band.
I was
and
mad
he's-
they didn't even give him a key or nothing. They were
Right,
just like
nothing.
I'm like, can you just say like A flat? Like, give him something.
I don't think they even counted in. It was
They
like
did it. They
ka-ba-bow.
No, she just started playing. She was kind of being a you know what.
Right.
was.
That's what I'm saying. She's being her most diva. And so once he's finally starting to get in the zone, he starts going on a solo. He's he's tinkling away. And
I thought he was gonna get fired
right.
after his.
Everybody in the band
I
is
was like, oh, he's done.
everybody in the band is just staring at him and in awe, I guess, but it also could be like in disgust. You know, their faces are
Yeah.
very. It could be anything.
She was like, "Where you been?"
That's right.
I thought she was gonna be like, "You think you Dorothea Williams? Because I'm Dorothea Williams. This is my name up on that side." And I was like, "Oh,
That would have better be soloing in my club. You know.
I'm the greatest good you ever gonna get."
She kept calling him Teach. Okay, Teach.
Okay, Teach. That's right. That's
Well, probably
Thank
because
you.
Curly
Fun
was like,
nickname.
I could call up my old band middle school teacher.
Right.
And she's probably like, are you freaking kidding?
But she did say that.
Did. She was like, "Oh,
She
so
said
we're-
that right in front of him. Oh, so we're
so-
just doing middle school band teachers now, huh? That's what we've sung to.
So embarrassing."
Come on, Dorothea. Give me a
Giving
break.
these band teachers a bad rep. I loved all my band teachers.
49 years old.
You were in band?
I'm quiet teachers.
Well, it's not the same.
Music teachers.
They are not mutually exclusive.
Teachers.
Teachers.
Teach.
Peace up. A-Town Fall.
Anyway,
You're from Modesto.
so
Exactly.
M-Town down.
M-Town
I
down.
said A-Town.
W-Town up.
Whatever.
Anyway, we're not even making any sense anymore. Dorothea
Eating these chocolate things
likes
with
him.
sprinkles.
He finishes the solo and she's like, "All right, you're hired. Let's see if you can keep up on 2 shows or whatever." And
She says, put on your best suit.
right, put on your best suit. So
And he goes home and puts on a nasty suit.
I'm like, "That's your best suit? Is that really all you got?"
I mean, he is
you
a
have to rent this,
part-time
dog.
middle school.
You got to go to the.
Well,
Men's
he's like
Warehouse.
so
Yeah.
excited about his big break. He's running home straight into a hole.
Is this where he falls into the hole?
That is where he falls into
This
the
is
hole.
where he falls into the hole. Yes, he's so hyped. He's like, "Woohoo! Yippee! I did it! Now this is pod racing!" And he falls immediately into a manhole that is just open on the street in New York.
Bye-bye.
It's dangerous. Somebody should have put up a cone or something. Was there a cone there? Okay, I guess this is Joe's fault. So he's dead, and that's how the movie ends. All right, thanks you guys. Thanks for listening. At the Wall Ball Pod. We'll see you next time. No,
I looked at Luis like 4 times. Did he die? Is he dead?
he is dead. It's been 20 minutes in the movie or something
Which is
like
hilarious because technically he's not dead.
He's like in the in-between.
that. Right. So it's interesting, and I guess it kind of
He's like seeing the light. He's like creeping towards death.
right. It's like
So is that why? Here's my. I have a question list.
yes,
You ready? I'm
hit
pulling
us
it out.
with it.
So is that why he got the opportunity to become a counselor? Were they called counselors? Mentors. I don't know.
Mentors.
Whatever they were.
Yeah.
No.
Or does everybody who die have the opportunity to become a mentor?
No.
Well,
Or do you have to be like super successful?
No,
I got
homie,
answers.
Hey, he was,
You got answers?
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, my answer is when he
Because you have to do it before you go to the great
when he
beyond.
quote unquote died, he wasn't dead yet. He was probably like in a coma, like we
Right,
saw
right,
later,
right,
whatever.
Mhm.
He's on that elevator thing and it's going up, right? Towards
Right.
the light.
Right.
As soon as he hits that light, dead. So it's like he is dying, but he's dead enough that he is falling into death enough that he's in this other realm.
Right.
Kind of like Harry Potter, like you could live, you could die. Dumbledore's there, like what you gonna do? You gonna go that way?
You're going to
die?
get on the train.
yes,
Yeah,
he is
you
in
know.
limbo.
So he's like there. If he was to float up that elevator thing, then he'd be dead. He goes down, down, down because that's where the beginning is, like down there, which I get. Well, he's just trying to get away from the escalator. But what was the other question about who gets to be a mentor?
Yeah, because there was.
I think they pick and choose very successful people to be mentors, it seems like. And he just finagled his way in.
Because remember,
But
when
are
he actually
those all
goes
had to have
through-
been people who hadn't hit the great beyond yet? So is it just like
right.
randomly pick people that haven't?
And
People
Abraham,
that are
died?
kind of in the zone, I bet.
I mean, Abraham Lincoln was there, and
No, but-
he had a pretty abrupt death. I don't know if you all read a book,
Oh,
but he wasn't in limbo for a long time.
Maybe he was.
He got
Maybe
shot
he has some powers.
in the head. Lou, what were you gonna say?
So the people that get selected are obvious ones that were successful, because if you look,
They're good.
if you look at like kind of the examples of the mentors, because they go through some, like they're looking at all the great things they did.
Mm-hmm.
But then his really comes up, and his is the color is different in his. It's more darker, kind of ominous, and like he realized, wait, I'm not that successful,
Right.
you know. So that answers the question of who gets chosen.
Have you seen The Good Place?
No.
So in The
a
Good
good
Place,
show.
it's a TV show. In The Good Place, they are dead, and these people are chosen to go to the good. It's the good place and the bad place. So they're chosen to go to the good place, and they show them a video of like their lives. Oh, this person was a successful philanthropist, and this person did this, this, and this.
These are
And
your
these people are
points.
like, I didn't do that. Why am I here? Like it was like they picked the wrong person, and that's kind of I kind of related it to that. What do you
Yes,
think, babe? You've seen that.
A similar premise in its
Because remember, it was
in
that
its scope.
other person that he was supposed to be.
Right.
And he was like, okay, I didn't do any of those good things.
Bjorn
but-
Borgensen.
Bjorn Borgensen.
Bjorn Borgensen.
Yes, it was
It
like,
I
reminded me of
remember
The
that.
Good Place, if you've seen that show.
yes, it's definitely a recreation of the afterlife in either a more simplified or more complex
It would be
version
dope,
than
though,
what
if, like,
the Bible represents.
It'd be
you
dope,
know?
though, if, like, before you died, you could be like, you know how you sign up to be, like, a bone marrow donor?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I want to be a mentor before I die. I hecka would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
I know that's not
It's
real,
just
but that'd
weird
be cool.
because I guess what I'm trying, I think what I have a problem with is that it seems either it's too complex and we're simplifying, like what you just said, and we're simplifying it too much for my brain to comprehend, or vice versa, where it's very simple, but I'm trying to make it more complex.
I think you're trying to
Because
make it more complex.
They're dead, right?
Yes.
Or dead-ish.
Yeah.
That is.
Like-
They're like
These
in
are
limbo.
these are their souls.
It's limbo.
And they're going back to the great before
Sure.
to be...
That's where you came from before you were anything.
Right.
Mhm,
And
where your
they're
soul
going
was
to,
created.
like, chill there until they're ready to go to the great beyond.
Exactly. And remember that those things that look like wires bent or whatever.
The Jerrys.
The
Jerrys?
Jerrys. And that's why they said you would not understand this. This is why we are a simple thing right
I
here.
love the way those things were designed. The Jerrys.
There
are
was
ve-
an episode about that on the gallery,
Oh,
too.
is there? Yeah, the
I
Jerrys
might
are
have
very
to watch
cool.
that because Jerry's were funny. Terry.
The Jerry and Terry, but they're just these simple lines, right? And so they look like kind of like sticky figures, kind of thing. Something.
It looks like they took a
Like
paperclip
Picasso type
or
of...
Picasso, yeah.
Right,
And, like,
exactly. But then when it zooms in on them, they and Terry in particular, because he zooms into just becoming a line at a point during the movie. But like when you see like where their line body meets like what the ground would be, it's just like a stream of like data.
So
almost.
there's an episode on the gallery about a girl who does the character renderings for Pixar. So they come to her and they're like, this is the character we want. Now draw it.
Yeah.
Like make it. And she's gone through like, tons of versions of whatever. She
complex
actually created
things.
all of the outfits for the characters in The Incredibles 2 based off of her own closet type of thing. And she was the one when they were talking about these beings and what they were going to look like. She was like, well, they got to be much simpler than that. Those things would look cool as like wire statues. And they were like, okay, do it. And so she made a bunch of wire statues and they were like, oh, we like that.
Cool.
Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
very cool. Yeah, I liked the Jerrys a lot. So Joe is in there. He just will not accept his fate that he is dying. So he runs.
He ain't ready.
he's running backwards along the like track that's taking him up to the stairway to heaven or whatever. And he's running down there, and people are getting in his way. So he has to like jump himself free. He breaks through like the barrier that's
I didn't like this scene
That's
because
there?
The
the
Matrix?
animation changed and it was like when he was falling.
It reminded me of the Spider-Verse, but also Doctor
Yes.
Strange,
Like
Yes.
going
but
through these
also
weird dimensions.
the
I was like-
quantum realm.
right. It's
I was
all in
kind of
there.
lost on that. I
I
was
liked
like,
it.
okay.
I wrote down this movie.
Going into the Inside Out world.
Yeah, I wrote that this movie is very, very trippy. They really put on their hippie hats to
That scene they did.
to visualize some of this stuff. Because yeah, as he's falling through the great void of the great beyond or whatever, it just cycles through all of these different dimensions that this reality lies
we
on
cannot
top
comprehend.
of. That we cannot comprehend. yeah.
Apparently.
He falls down, and is in a bright, colorful field. And this is where all the
I was so tripped out right now.
what,
I was
when
like,
they were in the field?
yeah, because I literally had no
You
idea
had
that
no
he had
idea what
died
was
and that they
going
were
on.
souls. I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh, you didn't
what?
understand he had died at that point?
I mean,
you didn't know he was in the afterlife at that
yeah,
point.
Yeah,
like,
maybe
I
you
knew-
did need to see a trailer.
I mean, I didn't know that he had died because I was like, he fell down the hole.
He fell down the
I
hole.
was like, he's obviously gonna not go. He doesn't want to go towards the light. Like I got that,
Right.
but then like the field, like what in the world? What? Where is he?
Right. And
I
then
felt like it was the Matrix, honestly.
all of these babies start popping up and hitting him in the head and stuff like that. He realizes he's in. I'm sure they had names for all of this stuff, but he's in a part of the Great Beyond where
What's the program
the
called?
Great Beginning. Is that what
You?
it's called?
The Great You.
The U.
Is
the
that
U
the U
program.
Academy?
The U Academy.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
It's you something. They
It's-
rebranded it. That's all I know.
It is you something. The Great Beyond, the Great Before, and the Zone,
Can we get some more?
and that's all that's named her. But yes, he's there, and he starts learning things. He starts learning that these little child beings that he sees are
Souls.
all souls that have not gone to Earth yet. They are not like him, where he's
They're like wisps.
Right.
Like Will-o'-the-wisp.
They're Will-o'-the-Wisps. And he learns this from a Jerry, because Jerry is there and is caretaking all the little babes. Jerry gives a monologue and montage showing that these beings go through these various trials to find out what their personality is going to be like.
I thought that was a cool concept.
It was very cute the way that they were showing off. This is the hall of everything. You walk through here and you find out what you like, and for some it's archery, and for some it's math, and for some it's breakdancing or whatever.
I liked that.
Yeah.
My favorite part is when they were like, this one has this personality and this personality, and they were like, I'm blah blah blah, and I don't know whatever they were saying.
She's
they
like,
were.
you 7 will be laissez-faire. The rest of you will be uptight. It
Hilarious.
was very cool.
That's where Louis went.
Yeah. So
He's so uptight he couldn't even laugh about it. Whatever.
Jerry learns Joe all of this stuff. Joe's freaking out, by the way, this entire time. And at a certain point, he gets drafted in as a mentor because he's in the wrong place, so they assume he's someone else. They give him a name tag. They say he's Joe Jorgensen, and that
Bjorn Borgensen.
Bjorn Borgensen.
Jordan Jorgensen.
The B's are silent.
You
and,
can call him Jordan. That's cool.
And so he goes in there as Bjorn, and they're doling out mentors to each of the young souls so that they can find out what their last personality trait is, what their spark is. The spark. And once they have their spark, then they're ready to live and go to Earth and inhabit a body or whatever, a baby body. So they go through a couple of kids who get mentors. Like, okay, you're a mentor and you're getting paired with soul number 10,000,001 for whatever. And then
It was billion.
It was like 10 billion.
yes,
something.
there's been a lot of beings. So they bring Bjorn up, aka Joe, and he's like, okay, I guess I'm here. And they're like, you're being paired with soul number 22.
And this is what was very interesting to me, because if we think about how many humans are currently in the world, alive at one time is what, like 8 billion?
7 billion, close.
7 billion? Okay, but there's obviously been way more humans than that.
Sure.
But I was like, dang, she number 22. Girl, you've been here a long
22.
time. You need to get out of here.
Been here for a while.
Well,
I think at one point she's like, I've been here thousands of years. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Right, easily.
Yeah, I mean, probably 3 or 4,000.
Right.
At least.
So I think that was really interesting because at first I didn't really get the significance. I just thought it was funny how it was like 10 billion, and this is 22. I'm like, okay, this is
Alright.
weird. And then it kind of started to sink in, like the real significance of the time gap
Right.
of why she was 22.
And also time doesn't work there like it does here,
Yeah,
I
kinda-
guess.
I think I finally didn't realize that till like right now. Like, oh, she's 22.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Like the 20
literally the
soul
22nd soul that had ever been created.
ever existed. Yeah.
Girl.
She's younger than the Jerrys.
Right.
Older.
Older than the
I
Jerry.
can't. I don't know.
Well, I mean, maybe not quite as old, but
Not older
but
than
it's
the
close.
Jerrys. They're like the gods.
Yes, exactly. The Jerrys are like the gods of this.
Number
of
1
this
through
world.
21.
Yes. Terry's 21. So
Terry, I love Terry. Okay, so Terry is this freaking also Jerry
the
character.
accountant, right?
He's the accountant on
accountant.
like the what do you call that? The conveyor belt of death.
it's
What is that number county thing? It's so
An
archaic.
abacus.
An
Abacus.
And he's
Thank you.
literally looking at an abacus and he's like moving with his pointer finger along like each person who dies. And it's just so funny because there's probably like 20 abaci like, up in front of him. And he just moves it as they go. And he's like, the count is off. The count is off. He's like freaking out. And he's like, goes to the Jerry's and is like, the count is off. And Jerry's like, in the most diplomatic but patronizing voice, well, that is your problem, isn't it now, Terry? That's something that you're going to have to figure
You're
out.
the accountant.
And Terry's like, oh, I'm going to figure this out.
I'll figure it out.
And
Yes, it sounds just like that. Right?
and this was a total, like, it to me, it felt like Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet type of thing.
Type
It
of
made
bad
me feel
guy.
like the internet because he goes into some like side cyborg area and starts going through the file lists of every single
Every soul that's
soul
ever
that's ever
existed.
been. I'm assuming.
See, I was getting like, what's that thing in Harry Potter where it's like that? It's like a warehouse and they have to go and find what's the thing he find that says the prophecy?
Oh, the Hall of Prophecy.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
there were all the
Well,
all the
Hall of
prophecies
Prophecy, same
were
thing.
in there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
And
And you
yeah,
gotta find the one with your name and bold.
Jerry was giving me like, you know, in Hercules where there's those like witches and they cut the strings to
Yeah.
like kill the souls.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's Jerry because he was mad because he was like, I don't remember what he says, like 101,551 souls every day, and we're one short. And I was like, okay, you're gonna survive. And he's like, no.
No, we not.
it's so interesting because when Jerry gets in that archive room or whatever, and he's looking through the files, he has to go through every single one because he has no idea who is missing.
Who it is.
So he counts all these things, all these souls every day. He don't know who's in, who's out, who's up, who's
He
down.
literally started at A.
Yeah.
And Louise was like, oh man.
It was like AA, AA.
Later on, there's a lot of Garcias in here.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
So Terry is played by Rachel House.
Which I appreciate.
She was in both Moana and Thor Ragnarok. In Thor Ragnarok, she was the Grandmaster's like right-hand
Yes, I know
soldier or
exactly
whatever.
who she
Oh
was.
my gosh.
The one who got super mad and
Yes.
was like, I'm going to eviscerate you.
He's like, whoa.
Yeah.
She was like
Down.
super aggressive.
Yeah, she was very aggressive and ready to throw down with
Who was she in
everybody.
Moana?
In Moana,
Please tell me that she was the crab. Was she the crab?
she's grandma. She's Grandma Tala
Oh.
in Moana.
Can you show me a picture of this lady?
Yes.
She doesn't look like what
she's
you're
very
thinking.
smiley. No.
I'm
anything?
Terry.
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 She was the grandma. What?
Yeah.
That doesn't make me happy.
Yeah.
I wanted her to be Tomatella.
Oh no, that was
Terry.
a different New Zealander.
Different Terry.
Was that a man who played Tomatella?
Yes, it was a man.
I mean, I don't know. Terry sounded like a Terry. And it was a Rachel.
right, even though it was Rachel.
Think about what Andre can make himself sound like.
Like, can you make yourself sound like,
I sound like Terry.
Like
Terry's-
anything.
Terry's also the same exact voice I do
Now sound like a girl.
for Boba Fett.
Oh yeah. Boba Fett.
you make Boba Fett into an Australian?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he kinda is.
Now sound like Ariel.
Wow.
Anywho,
Wow.
speaking of voices, number 22 is played by Miss Tina Fey, which it's like there's like a weird little world that I'm living in by myself where Amy Poehler played Joy in Inside Out,
Yes.
and Tina Fey plays 22 in this.
And they're like best friends.
And they're like best buds, and they're two hilarious comedy writers.
That's
who
why I
were
was
on
getting
SNL
those kind of
together.
vibes from this movie.
And in a
Kinda.
bunch of movies. Yes. And
But
I'm
then if he
sure
sounds like
that's
he directed this one, then
right. I'm sure that's like a reason that he chose Tina Fey, is just maybe on the recommendation of Amy Poehler, or
Maybe.
because he recognizes her from
it
their
was a very
relationship
good
or whatever.
voice for 22, though it worked.
Oh yeah.
You know how she was doing the thing like everything's relative. I could sound like this.
Yeah.
I could sound like this. I sound like this because it annoys people. I was like, okay.
So the thing about 22 is that she's been here forever because she does not want to be alive. She's like, I'm very much enjoying exactly what's going on right here, right now, which is nothing. Okay, there's nothing going on. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not hanging out with nobody.
She also likes f***ing off people.
I live in my little box
I
over
think
here.
you might need to beep that.
Beep. And
Oh.
think of the children. And
Sorry.
and yeah, she's just really goth in her own little prepubescent solely way.
Yeah.
She is like the you know, they're all supposed to be like babies, all of these youngling souls or whatever, but she's definitely like a teenager, you know.
Can we pause here?
Yes.
Because you
Dude,
made
her number is 22
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
Well, so yeah.
out
So-
of like 1 billion.
Yeah. So, but in
So-
her head, she's like a teenager because she
Like
has
that.
She hasn't
never.
she hasn't lived. She hasn't
Yeah, so
emotionally
she doesn't
evolved
know.
past.
She's like Dory practically.
but she is very smart because of all the mentors that she's had,
that's true.
which you find out. a
So
little
speaking
later.
of the elderly voice that she makes, that is a Easter egg.
Oh, who would that
So-
be?
For who?
It is, well, it's unconfirmed, but I feel like everything's unconfirmed right now because it just came out.
Oh.
So it's an unconfirmed reference to Carl Fredricksen in Up,
Ah.
voiced by Ed Asner.
Let's see. if-
Gruff, male, elderly. I feel like that's
see.
probably pretty. Yes.
They brought him in for one line. Let's see. I don't see him in the cast list, but you know that
I
still
think
could
it's
be
her
unconfirmed.
doing it.
Oh, just doing a.
I
an
think it's
Addison
supposed
impression.
to be like
That makes a
an
lot more
homage
sense.
to that because if you look at the face that she makes when she's doing it, it looks like
It very
him.
much looks like Carl.
Yeah.
Carl.
Carl. Yeah. So Joe is assigned to be her mentor. They go to the Hall of Everything.
Well, at first she's like, they're looking at the life of Bjorg Borgensen or
right.
whatever.
That's right.
And she's like, all right, buddy, like, let's get this over with. I want to be here. And he's like, listen, I don't really want to help you either. But if I have you find the thing and you get your Earth pass, can I take your Earth pass so I can go back to Earth? And 22 is like, yeah, cool.
Because
Looks
she
at
thinks
his
it'll
life.
get her off the hook of ever having to go to
Right.
Earth.
And that scene, it was interesting because then he touches the thing and changes it to see his life. And he was saying, like, that's not how I remembered it.
Right.
Like, he's looking at himself in a different way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, okay, whatever. We're going to go to this Hall of
Hall of
Everything.
Everything, mhm.
I really liked that place.
Yeah. Because it's just. I mean,
It's honestly like a discovery zone on steroids.
right.
Like, do whatever you want. Exploratorium.
It's everything. It is anything you could ever want. So they go on like a little montage, trying stuff out, trying to see if she's into anything, and she's definitely not. She's like, I've been here, I've been done, I did that. I don't want to do this. You know, la di da di do di da. And at a certain
And I like how
point,
the halls are made out of terries. Like, the halls are literally a terry, like, squatting.
Yes. Yeah, they're I call them universal beings in this, but they are etherical, whatever we said.
Oh, my gosh.
They actually are etherical.
They are etherical for sure. And I like them a lot.
As etherical as that name is, Louis.
So as Joe is seeing his life from this new perspective, he eventually says, like, my life was meaningless. Like, oh no, what have I done? I wasted it entirely. And 22 kind of likes that about him for whatever reason. Like, she sees how passionate he was and how he did so much, you know, from her eyes, but she's you know, he's heartbroken over it, but she's like, wow, this is kind of cool. I wonder what it would be like to live like that a little bit, I think. She takes him to the zone. And
The hippie dude.
this is where she goes because she's not living
It's like
life.
in a box.
So, you know, she goes in her box and it takes her through to the zone. And in the
There's
zone,
like lost souls.
yeah, in the zone there are both lost souls, and also this is when you, on a live person, are in the zone, when you're really in your element and doing your thing. This is where your soul appears.
I don't like this at
What?
all.
No,
this
you don't
is
like
the
it?
part where I'm like, mm-mm.
Oh, I
It
liked it.
doesn't make it makes no, it doesn't make sense.
You
It's-
never been in the zone?
It's,
Oh, you girl been in the zone,
Right, I
but
figure you've been
but
in
I've
the
never
zone.
been so like trans. like what's the word? Like you transcend your body. Where
Sure.
Well,
No.
I don't.
I've
I
never
don't
been
think
in
they
that
were
zone.
trying to go with the transcend your body. I think they were just trying to be like, you are doing this thing. They don't know that they're in that trance
Right.
unless they were actually aware of it, like the weird hippie dippy
Right.
dude.
So when you're in the zone and you're doing your thing, you are alive. You're doing your thing. It's just that your soul is existing on multiple planes at that point, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So you're in your body, you're waving your violin arm or whatever it is you're doing, and
You're waving your violin.
that's how they sound too. And
You're doing your yo-yo
and
ma.
you're doing everything, but then your soul is also just like kind of floating above you because it feels so good to be waving that violin arm.
Yeah, like every time I would do a gymnastics routine, like nobody's there, it's just me. I'll stick it and like bada bing, bada boom, and then you hear people applaud, and you're like, "Oh snap, there are people
Oh
here."
yeah, look at that.
Yeah, in the zone.
You're in the zone.
FYI, I just need to tell y'all, listeners included, the other day Luis had classical music playing on Pandora in our house, and there was a song on. I've heard it before. I knew who was playing it. I mean, I also read it, but Luis
I
is.
knew who was playing it.
I'm not leaving.
I'm the leader. I'm
She's
telling the
leader.
story.
She's telling the
And Luis
story.
goes, "Oh my God, that guy's name is Yo Ma." Yo Ma. And I was like, dude, you've never heard of Yo Ma?
I was like, Yo Ma, what that chord look like?
You never heard of Yo-Yo Ma?
What that C sharp look like?
Oh my gosh.
It was so good. I was like, what did you
I would have loved to have been here for that.
Oh my
Yo Ma.
Yo ma. Hey yo ma. Yo.
Hey, yo, grandmama.
You
What
know
that-
Yo Ma's been there, okay?
What that violin do, ma?
Yo Ma, what that G string look like?
Oh my.
I think you gotta bleep that too.
That's very specific.
I can't say the other thing. He can't say that.
Because it's a G. You know, he was playing the G. You know? Mm-hmm. The string. Anyway.
That took me a long time to get. I
It took
get
me
it.
a while to
Like
get there,
D
too.
sharp or something.
Okay. Hallelujah.
I'm starting to laugh in a certain way that's hurting my jaw, y'all.
So they're in the zone, and 22 has Joe out there, and she introduces him to some of her hippie friends. And these are people who...
Hold on, before you get to the hippie friends,
yes.
Luis gave out a very guttural laugh when she was showing how she messes with people who are in the zone.
Oh, yeah. I've
What
been
exactly-
messing with these people for years.
I've been
What-
messing with this team for
No.
years.
What exactly did she do?
The poor New York
snacks.
Knicks.
It was the Knicks. And she, like, every time they went in to, like, shoot, like, a basketball, like, she would, like, mess with them somehow and throw him off his She's like, I've been messing with him for years. Or that team or whatever.
Because poor Knicks haven't won anything in
Yeah.
like I don't even know when.
The
So Luis definitely
tattoo.
thought
The
that was hilarious.
tattoo.
Oh,
That
I in
was
the
very
zone, though.
funny.
Oh, yeah, the tattoo. Oops. Oops.
It was the actress, and she was like, line.
Oh yeah,
was
that's
funny.
right. Yeah, very, very, very fun, creative Pixar stuff. And so her hippie homies show up in a magical flying ship or whatever.
Luis was like, this is Bob Dylan, obviously.
and it's these hippie dippy souls that
I thought it
come
was
in.
John Lennon, I don't know.
The Beatles in their 70s phase. Ooh. Everything was
No, he
trippy.
reminded me of that dude from the Avatar, and they had the drum synchro tunnel. That was one.
Yes.
Man, that guy's voice playing 7 different characters on Avatar me off.
It's
man.
a whole vibe. All of it. So they're there and they're kind of explaining who they are, where they're from. It turns out that these guys are not dead. They are just so in the zone that they have transcended, and they are like astral projecting
They're
their
like
souls
Gandhi,
into the zone.
I guess.
Yes, I guess a Gandhi would have been able to do this. A Doctor Strange would be able to do this. And
And if-
homeless dudes flipping signs can do this as well.
Straight meditating into the zone.
They are meditating into the zone. So he meets with them, and they explain some of that kind of plot stuff. And
I don't know, because one of the girls like, "Oh, I'm deep in meditation somewhere."
right, which
Like,
is
that- okay.
which is cool.
Yeah. I like the idea of that, but then it also bothers me I feel like it's more complex than they made it kind of situation where at that they can They can go from a physical form into this transcendent kind of other
Soulverse.
plane,
Mhm.
and then they can go back out through their box tunnel house,
They're going into the Avatar
Right.
state.
then go into it kind of does feel like going into the Avatar state,
Yeah, I mean, if it's
into the spirit world.
if it's like a if this afterlife world that they're in is like a playhouse that God has made or whatever.
Out
And-
of the box.
And he created the earth. It has all its rules and stuff like that. But with this playhouse, he's just messing around because this is early stuff. So there's just lines connected to other stuff and little portals and pathways and this gigantic areas in this tiny little box or whatever. It's just playing with physics and stuff like that in my mind anyway. So yeah, they're in the zone.
It makes about as much sense to me as Bitcoin does.
That doesn't make sense to me. Don't even freaking get me started. I don't understand Bitcoin at all.
It's a
Louise
digital
has
currency.
on multiple occasions brought up the conversation and gone on for like 2 hours, and I've been like, shut up.
Every
can
time I
mine for
ask
it.
Andre to explain what Bitcoin is, I'm so lost that I don't even know.
They're stored on hard drives.
We're not talking about it.
And
Maybe
it's-
on Crack in the Vault we could talk about it.
Digital gold. Anyway,
Or is it?
I'm going to
Or
start
is
mining
it?
my digital gold
Yeah.
with my tiny
It's not
ice-
Minecraft. Get out of here, Bitcoin.
I'm going to
it's-
World of Warcraft my Bitcoins.
It's very much like Minecraft.
Listen, if I was single and some dude came up to me and was like, I got money. I was like, really? He was like, yeah, Bitcoin money. I'd be like, get out of here, bro. I had no idea what you're talking about.
What?
Yo,
If-
he's got money.
If he got Bitcoin,
yeah.
Yeah, he got digital money.
Just like gold
I don't
is a
understand.
piece of metal that comes from the ground and technically isn't worth anything, but we have as a
Assigned it
society
value.
assigned it value. We did the same thing with Bitcoin, and it's just stuff that exists
Well, I
that,
can't
that
pay
you
for
can
it
that you can
anyway,
use
so-
as money.
Yeah, we've assigned digital value,
Correct.
or
I know.
actually real value to
I
digital.
don't get it. Let's move on.
Anyway, it's good.
Similarly to this movie.
Move on to some other
Some
confusing
listener
stuff.
can tell me that I'm wrong.
There are also lost souls in the zone, and the hippies have taken it as their mission to go and push the lost souls back into their bodies.
Back into the zone.
And I'll
Yes.
explain a lost soul, man, because I freaking been there. This is what
Oh
is
my
called
God.
Michelle, sob story.
anxiety or OCD.
Why you gotta have the day? Like
That's
that?
how I speak.
ADHD.
That is not how you speak. Bayou, get on with it.
That's how I talk, okay? Anyway, so the lost souls are the ones who have become so enthralled and so obsessed with something that they can't snap out of it. They just can't snap out of it. I think of somebody who's lost in the zone is just
A video
so
game.
anxious about it. They're just on repeat, and they can't snap out of it, or they're just having all these massive anxiety thoughts. So I like the one where they showed the lost soul, and I don't remember what he was saying.
He was a hedge fund manager.
Yeah.
Well, the guy was like, "Oh, another hedge fund manager.
Make
Oh,
a trade.
Make a
Make a
Make a
trade.
That was a heck of fun.
Yeah, he's in a zone, I actually really like
He's in a
that.
rut.
I understood that.
Yeah, and yeah, they release him from his lost soulness, and they push him back into his body, and he is a hedge fund manager. He's staring dead-eyed at a computer screen. There's all kinds of snacks all on his desk, and he wakes up out of this trance that he's been in for presumably years. He shoves everything off his desk, like, "Whoa, I'm getting out of here! I'm going back to school." I don't know what he says, but he's not being a hedge fund manager.
He's about to follow the yellow brick road, y'all.
Yes, because he
It's
is
hilarious.
no
He's
longer
like,
a lost
"Listen,
soul."
Linda, I ain't doing this no more.
And
That
that's
was
just
very funny.
and that's just the power of the hippies right there. They can bring you out anything.
Bringing people to peace, man."
Yeah, one rip at a time.
I would have enjoyed seeing a couple more people
Sure.
like that, like an actual person with anxiety.
Mhm.
Not so much that it was a job or a passion, but a
Well, they kind of showed that with 22, where she was just stuck in her thought of
Yeah.
Right. Yes, that's the thing about 22 is that she does. It's not that she just doesn't want to live. It's that she's very scared of living and probably failing at life or whatever. That's her main hang up against it all. So she's always kind of like
pause there
Go ahead.
because I just figured out what the problem with this movie is.
Okay.
For me
Yes.
personally. I feel like I don't appreciate that Joe doesn't realize or acknowledge that, okay, I guess he kind of does. I don't know. I feel like he has failed a lot of people and he missed a lot of opportunities, but
Right.
he doesn't like.
He doesn't see that that's his problem
Yeah.
before he dies.
Because he's in an inside perspective, he kind of was like a lost soul, like so obsessed with only getting his big break.
Right. No, I get all that. I guess I don't know. I have to be able to. We'll keep talking. I have to be able to better form it
Yeah.
because I know why I'm annoyed. I just can't
You just
articulate
can't
it yet.
voice it.
I get like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So 22 is anxious, but as they're in the zone, they view Joe's body in the real world. So he is in a hospital. He is in like a coma. This is why his soul is roaming freely through the afterlife or whatever, the great beyond. And he talks with the hippies, and they realize that if he can just like meditate himself back into his body, then he should be good to go. So they're looking down on him. The hippies are all joined at hands. They're in harmony or whatever. They're trying to get him in there. And
That was funny.
And as it's happening, 22 is freaking out, and they both fall into the void and plop into the two bodies that are in the hospital room. And
Luis, being the Luis that he is, he's like, I already know who's who. I already know who's who. I'm like, she's.
I didn't think he was gonna be in the cat. That was kind of like
Right,
unexpected.
I was expecting them both to be in Joe's body.
I thought they were both going to be in Joe's body too, and it was going to
Right.
be like a back and forth in his head.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw a cat in that dude's lap, I was like,
You
I
just
know
like
where
cats,
this is
though.
Here
going.
come that kitty.
That's true.
Here
Meow,
come the
meow.
memes. So yeah, Joe wakes up and he's in a cat, and then 22 wakes up for the first time and is in a Joe, and they're both
And is in a Joe.
very upset about
We
it.
did it, Joe. We did it.
So the whole second act of this movie is, well, I guess it's like second act part 2, and the first half of the second act is him being a soul. Whatever. The
Dude, I don't know.
the rest of this part of the movie is.
The majority, honestly.
Yes, most of it is Joe as a cat leading 22 through his life, and her being more super into living and all of its wonders. You can't smell or taste as a soul, so that's cool stuff that she gets to try as
Yeah, and he was
as
like
Joe.
eating the pizza. I was like, nice.
Right. And she was eating
Surprisingly,
everything.
not so angry anymore.
Like, I wasn't expecting, like, as soon as I saw the cat and him, I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't expecting it to go there.
Right,
Before
for
that.
her to experience all the things.
Can
like, for the
you
first
hear
time.
him, Andre?
A little bit.
Just so you know, listeners, he is not holding his microphone.
It's on his shoulder.
It's on his shoulder, and he's sitting back into the car. I just feel it very. I feel
You're
like
offended.
I need to get you all headphones.
I am offended.
Offended. I mean, let's
Oh,
just
well,
call
I
it
mean,
a spade.
Most of the time when
You miss a
we're
lot.
talking, you're not holding your mic, and we all have to sit here holding our mic. So I don't know who
Well,
you think you are.
That sounds
There we
like
go.
a you problem, not
on the
me.
chest. And the listener problem.
He's still not holding it, listeners.
It's a-
Yep, you can hear me pretty well.
That's much better than
And he's
than,
wearing a mask.
than
It's
shoulder
hard-
mic.
Much
it's hard for-
better.
Patrons, we will use your money to buy Luis a head mic.
You do not need to do that. Be fiscally
Patreon.com
responsible.
/ the Walt Vault. So yeah, and Joe meanwhile is getting to see himself from an outside perspective and how his opinions on his own life have affected others around him and how their opinions have affected him and stuff like that. So
I feel like there's like 3 main things he gets to see
mhm.
that give him perspective. And I think it starts with his mom, doesn't it?
I feel like it starts with the pizza.
Doesn't it
He's
start with the
watching her
girl?
enjoy pizza like, oh, something so simple.
Doesn't it start with the girl Connie?
Well, I couldn't remember if he
Or
went.
no,
Right.
Joe didn't witness
Pizza's
that.
first. He would cranky.
Well, yeah, the pizza, but I feel like it was more like.
I'm trying to remember what order this stuff happens in.
Well,
Yes,
either
Connie
way.
is first.
Okay, so he
The
goes
pizza is
back to
first.
his he goes back to his apartment, and Oh, you're right. The mom is second because of the suit. So they go back and he's like, we need to take a shower. We need to get you looking spiffy so we can get to that rehearsal.
Right.
Bless you. Or show call time, whatever. And
He has to be there early.
so they go to the apartment. He gets dressed and someone's knocking on the door. And it happens to be Connie, who
Connie.
we saw at the beginning
The jazz
of the movie.
student.
And Connie is literally at like a cry for helping at his door. and she's like, I'm quitting. This is stupid. Take this back.
I
Like
never
I
want to do
just
jazz again.
I
I was
did-
gonna throw this away, but I knew that I had to like return to the school, so I figured I'd just return it to you instead.
I just gotta be responsible. And so but I also was working on this, so can you listen to it?
Check it out.
Maybe. So she pulls out her trombone and she starts boning.
I'm
Whoa.
leaving it in. I'm leaving it in. I'm leaving it in.
That is not inappropriate.
She's tromboning.
Sometimes you gotta trombone, okay?
That's right.
Wah, wah.
Wow, 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 wow.
And she does it. She has like a cool solo thing she does. And 22 in Joe's body is like, wow, like that's really cool. And she doesn't really give her, she as Joe doesn't really give Connie advice, but she just says like, hey, like, oh, you don't like it? Okay, well, don't do it then. I
Right.
mean, she's just, at this point, she's still just
She's still 22.
being 22. But
Living that not
I
life.
think what bothers me, I get that Joe in cat form is still finding himself. Like
Sure.
he's still like learning to live life and all
Yeah.
of that.
He's
But
on his arc.
it bothers me that as a teacher and I think this is what Michelle was saying earlier, like as a musician, it bothers me that as a person, musician, teacher, whatever, that he is not seeing the cry for help and isn't finding the spark in her
Right.
being enough to help her in that moment.
And
Like,
that's
that
where
really
I was
bothers
like, if
me.
he's really that passionate about music, like, wouldn't he be passionate about like sharing it with others? But maybe that's just because like I loved my music teacher so
Right.
much. So the fact
Right.
that he was acting like that, I was like, oh, where he's like, oh, sorry, Connie, another day. I'm like,
Yeah.
The thing is,
No.
he's not being passionate about music right now. He's stuck in a rut where he needs to make it.
he's being selfish.
And
Yeah.
that's all he's thinking about. He as much as he waxes poetic about jazz and how much it means to him and how much he loves it and stuff like that, he's not focused on jazz. He's focused on
Him making it big.
Joe making it big.
Okay,
And like just enjoy yourself.
I think I just figured out what would have made me happy.
Okay.
This is all happening. The exact same thing is happening,
Mm-hmm.
like on screen that we're seeing. But we also cut to this it's not the underworld. I just keep thinking of it as the underworld.
Sure.
Where people are like stuck in their ruts
Uh-huh.
and you see like a rut like
Getting bigger.
forming or getting bigger
Yeah.
or transforming shape, and we realize throughout it kind of going back and forth between this underworld and what we're watching that it's Joe growing like into a rut and then maybe growing back out of the rut, like getting
Right.
pulled from the rut. Because I see where the character arc goes throughout the movie, but I just don't feel like his selfishness goes unatoned for. And I like
Right.
as a viewer, I want that. Like, you have to atone for your sins, okay? I
guess-
don't like
Not
I
it.
guess-
until the very, very end where he like had accepted everything. That I was like, all right, finally. Jeez.
Right. I think I guess him atoning for it is him being his body being dead and then him being stuck in a cat. You know, that
I guess.
that's the like kid friendly Pixar version of
I
it.
guess.
But yeah, I think you're right. Like
Because you could have shown that.
his
I mean,
maybe his soul should have been at risk in some more major way. Like the more selfish he is, the more he like disappears and fades away and doesn't even get to go up to the great beyond or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that. You're
I mean,
you're
I
probably
think
right.
I think the whole point was that eventually his selfishness and the way he was acting was affecting others around others around him, whether he knew it or not. But then it was more personified when 22
was in his body.
rut
Right.
and stuff like that. It was also at this point in the movie where I was just like, what is going to be her spark? Like, she's obviously on Earth discovering all these things, but I kept thinking I was like, this girl's gonna be like a counselor or something, because she's just telling it like it is.
Well, and I looked
so
at Lisa, I'm
kept
like, she's
saying-
either going to be a foodie or she's going to be
Right.
like a people person.
I
like,
thought she was gonna be like
yeah.
a counselor.
Yeah.
But what really bugged me is that we'll never know.
I think that's kind of the point of the spark, at least in the way they showed it in the movie, is that in the beginning when they're showing that montage of all the little younglings or whatever, Joe interprets it as when they find their spark, they find what they're meant to be, and what he's meant to be is a musician, and he's a jazz musician, and that was obviously his spark, and so that's how he interprets it for everybody else. But it turns out that your spark is not what you're meant to do,
or
It's-
even what you're good at, really.
Right. It's just like your reason to live. And that doesn't necessarily have to be one specific task or tool or skill that you have.
And I think that's what Jerry was like laughing at him for right at the beginning, was
Right.
like, ha ha ha, you think it's so simple, but it
these
is
silly
not.
puny souls and their narrow thinking,
But it's funny because we do categorize things like that. And I
Mhm.
think that might be the major overarching theme here,
Right.
is that we look at ourselves, especially through the lens of today, right? Like when you meet someone for the first time, you're like, hi, my name's Emily.
What do you do?
Like, what do you do? Like, oh, what do you do for work? Where do
Right.
you work? What do you do? Oh, tell me about that. And it's all about what you do and what you've done and what you're interested in.
Right.
And it's not really about who you are or
What you think,
What you-
even
yeah.
necessarily.
really at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care what you think. I just want to
I
know
just
what
wanna
you do
know
and how you're
what is your
contributing.
profession and how much does it make, and
exactly.
if I can put you on a pedestal above or below me.
Exactly.
You know?
And I guess in that sense, that is just like our kind of human selfishness and our culture.
It's just
Right.
like kind of the way our brains work too. It's like we're so innately like that.
Where we
You
are on
know?
the food chain,
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Like, I could just be like, "Wow, it's nice to meet you. You're alive. You living."
that's
it's
great.
it's a we classify people into things,
Mhm.
Right. And we classify ourselves. Like Joe, he
Mm-hmm.
thinks he's not a musician yet because he hasn't made it or whatever, but he's been playing music for 45 years straight, and
Oh, yeah, he's obviously an
and he's a
amazing
teacher,
musician.
and he's inspiring all of these other young musicians who are coming up in the game and whatnot. And
Look at Carly doing it.
right, exactly. Curly, played by Questlove. So yeah, so this is the existential crisis that he's having throughout this movie.
This is
And-
his midlife crisis he needed to have on Earth, but he's having it as a dead soul.
right, and
Yeah.
the MacGuffin that they're chasing is Joe needs to get to his show tonight, obviously, and he needs to switch his body back before that happens. And so they run into one of the hippies in real life, and he is a man spinning a sign, and he's like an old crazy person that you wouldn't necessarily acknowledge in real life or whatever. But that's how he gets into the zone, is by spinning that sign, which is hilarious to me.
Jamming on that music, man.
With his 8-track player or
Straight
whatever he's got on his
jamming.
hip. It's a tape deck. I don't know why I say 8-track player. Those,
Whatever.
Those
I mean,
go,
it could
those
be
go on
many
cars. So yeah, they talk to him, and he tells them that they have to. What do they have to do to?
They have to
actually
get
this?
to a
They have to do
specific-
a ceremony
Yeah, they have to do a ceremony like where the spirit world, or it's not a world,
at
whatever.
the time,
the plane,
which is like 6:30.
what the government calls 6:30. I died at that. When the astral plane becomes the weakest,
It was like at sundown. Or
Yeah.
whatever, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
the government calls 6:30.
So he basically is like, go get ready, whatever. I'll meet you at the club a little bit early, like
Mhm.
before the show.
Right.
Right? So they go to get his suit, and he puts on a suit, and then as he's like looking at his hair, and he's like, ooh, my hair.
I need
like,
to line myself up.
gotta line myself
He
up.
grabs
Well,
his clippers as a cat
yeah, as a
and
cat.
tries to take his cat claws with the clippers to his own head, which I listen, as a person who's been cutting their own hair for
30?
15 years now.
No way you'd let a cat cut your hair.
Yeah,
If I was a cat, I would not do.
I know the dexterity of my own hands, and once I was a cat, I would know that I
like
did
how
not
I
have that
wanted you to
dexterity
have.
anymore.
You were cutting your own hair for 30 years.
All 30.
Whatever.
Since I was born. Yeah, so
my
I never
gosh.
would have done this to myself. I either would have instructed 22 to do it, which is like a no-go, or I would have probably just worn the hat, honestly. But
You wore the hat the entire
hat?
movie.
Well, I guess you would have had to go get a fedora.
Wasn't he,
He already
wearing a
had it.
fedora?
he already had his hat.
Oh.
Yeah, he was wearing the hat the whole time. I'm surprised the hat even got knocked off long enough for him to notice that his hair was all jacked up. But
So I think something cool about this next scene, he's like, he messes up the hair, right? So they have to walk to the barber.
shop, yes.
And honestly, like 22 is like a kid in an adult body, right? Learning how to walk, learning what pain is, what food is, what smells are. She's like laying on the air from the
vents.
and she's like, woo! Looking at seed pods, just like everything is so cool to her.
Living.
Which is kind of giving him a new perspective. But this is where we go to the barbershop scene. And it was probably hands down the best scene in it. Maybe you're right. Maybe just because they were like joking with each other.
Right, they were just messing around in there.
Well, and I like it because it was one of the scenes. I mean, Joe Cat,
Mm-hmm.
Cat Joe, instructed 22 Human Joe,
right?
Through every scene, like how to interact with the people,
what to do.
But in this one, he definitely prompted her to talk about jazz and do this and sit there and blah blah. Don't talk, just leave. And she went rogue, and it was a hit.
was
Like every
fantastic.
single person in the barbershop was like into what she had to say because she was talking about just living.
Well, and she's pretty wise.
She's being very wise, yes.
She's old, if you think about it.
Yeah, and she's using all that wisdom that she learned from all of those mentors, and she's just talking about doing you and just being the person you're meant to be.
Well, there was one dude who was like, I need one of those lollipops. And she's like, he's like eating the lollipop, right? And it's also kind of comes full circle a little bit here too, because the barber is talking about like, well, I didn't want to be a barber. And it's like, I wanted to be a vet. And he was like, well, why didn't you do that? Your life was meaningless. And he was like, no, it's not.
I'm happier than ever.
Like, I'm happier than ever. I had to feed my kids or whatever, and I love doing this. I love talking to people. Well, and that's just kind of living, right? Like, life just kind of throws something new at you, and you're like, well, I like that. Like, that's
you gotta
cool.
adapt. I mean,
like, we don't necessarily like the same things we did as a kid, or some of them we still do. Like, you evolve with time or whatever. So I thought that was interesting. But even still in that moment, he was still like, well, you didn't do the thing you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
it's okay, bro.
Yeah.
I think that this, like, in some ways, it hit me. Like, I like this movie from, like, a personal perspective, but then again, like, the pieces that I have problems with don't have anything to do with me. So, I mean, good for me.
Yeah.
But the thing that I do like about it is that when I think of, like, Luis and I and our marriage, Luis grew up knowing he wanted to be a history teacher since he was like in 7th grade or something. He was like, I'm gonna be a history teacher and I'm gonna go to school and I'm gonna, major in history, then I'm gonna get my credential and I'm gonna teach. And by golly, he
He's
did
doing
that and good for him. But like me, I just like to talk to people and I like to do this, and I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna go to college. So I went to college and I talked to people and I did this, I did that, and then I graduated and did not know what I wanted to do. And I felt really lost. And I was like, I don't know. So I just got my big girl job, did my job, did some stuff, did that. And then Luis was like, you're going to stay home when we have our kids? So I stayed home. And that was really cool. But now I kind of feel like Joe starting over, I guess.
Sure.
Where it's like, what am I going to do
What
now?
am I going to do?
Oh, my gosh.
Whatever
like,
you freaking want,
The
man.
whole world is your oyster.
Sky-
so
Sky's
at
the
the end of this,
limit.
I was like, wow, I mean, I'm just going to live? You
Right.
mean I'm just going to go out there and live? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
That's the
Because
thing, man.
I think, like we said, there is so much. I think we put a lot of pressure on what you have to do, and you have to make it, and you have
Right.
to be this thing that you expect of yourself. But really, it's in the everyday.
Right, and it's you can make your own happiness. You
Yeah.
know, you don't necessarily have to follow anybody else's destiny that they set out. Just because somebody told you were gonna be a great fireman when you were a kid doesn't necessarily mean you have to grow up and be a fireman or
Yeah,
whatever.
dude, I thought I was going to be a zoologist because I love animals. And every time we're in the ocean or doing, I'm freaking allergic to like anything with fur. It ain't going to happen. But I still like it.
I'm surprised you're not a what do you call that? Marine biologist.
I was going to be a marine biologist.
With
And
your
then
oceanic
when I was like
tendencies.
16, I looked up how much money they don't make because a lot of things volunteer work. And I was like, well, I can't live off of that. But I do love it. Like when we went, remember when we went to the Bahamas and the dude was like, well, you could come work here with these dolphins. I was like, babe, we're freaking moving here. Like right now. Like,
That's right.
I just got a job offer. But no, I love what I do, but it took me forever. I went to different, well, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a slipper. Oh, I'm going to be a teacher. Ooh, didn't like that. But I like what I do now. It's
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
Andre doing his techie thing.
Yeah, and I definitely don't like what I do right now, but
But if you guys didn't know, Andre is going back to school.
That's
So
right.
I just threw it out there.
gang,
He is back in school, man.
I'm on the online.
But that's what the pandemic
Does
did
for
to
you.
you. We had to
Right.
take a step back at like, okay, all of these things that we use, quote unquote, to distract ourselves from our day-to-day life, we can no longer utilize in this moment. Like, we are kind of back to our roots of like, okay, like, what am I going to do to distract yourself? You had no distractions and you were like, there's nothing to distract me from this job that I literally hate and I have to do this every day. So I was like, so are you going back to school? You gonna...
Yeah,
you could
I
do
mean,
that. And then you were like, well, I could.
It was either that or
so
just
it's
quit
kinda-
and join the unemployment line,
Yeah.
which is still tempting.
But I think it's like...
But yeah, life.
We're just kind of thinking of things through different perspectives now, where you can kind of see Joe doing that in this movie, which is very interesting.
Right.
I thought it was very relevant to the current time period, whether they meant for it to be or not. It kind of turned out to be. But then again, anytime you watch a movie, you kind of relate it to what is in the current environment.
Right. Yeah, and this movie might have been just as relevant, even if there hadn't been a huge pandemic that made us all rethink our career choices. Might have been the same exact thing. So Joe, he gets on his suit, he rips his suit because 22 is not used to this body or whatever. So he's got to go get it refitted at his mom's shop.
Oh,
He-
And because you've been eating pizza all day.
Right, yeah, that's not been helping,
Mm.
but it has been tasty. So who you gonna blame?
I'm jealous.
So
pizza.
so
We just ate so many snacks.
so Joe goes and talks to his mom, and he it's an interesting scene because Joe the cat is obviously not controlling Joe the body's body,
Joe cat.
22's body or whatever. So he has to like talk through Joe to his mother.
Like there's like the cat on his shoulder going.
He's like, Mom, and the reason that you didn't do this and this and this. Yeah,
Which I find very funny because at first I thought they had a mental link, and then I realized it's the cat meowing,
it's
and
meowing,
she just
yeah,
understands
she's just
him.
listening to
She was
it.
literally like, you better get that cat out of here.
It was funny. But yeah, this is the scene where Joe kind of has to explain to his mom like why he's been obsessed with jazz and the gigging lifestyle, and why he'd never be satisfied as a teacher, and that if she could just see that and stop being so mean to him all the time, then they could have a better relationship.
And you know what Mom could have done? Mom could have come back and said, you know what? It is not your job to be gigging. It's your job to be inspiring the next
Right. That's true.
generation of people who have the same kind of love and spark that you do. Like, she could
Apparently
have...
that wasn't fulfilling enough for him.
Right. It's
I don't know why that
interesting.
upset me so much. I think it's because I do work with kids and I love like seeing that spark in
Yeah.
them. Where I'm like, you didn't like that, bro?
Yeah,
That's why you
it-
ain't
it's
got
very
married, no had no
bothersome to me.
kids. They bugged me a little.
It's interesting because to that I would say not everyone is meant to be a teacher.
Oh,
but
for
like,
sure.
But like Joe, he really is. He's been
Well, like she could have been like,
He's
you know,
been
do you
teaching
think I wanted
22.
to be a seamstress?
Right.
No, I am a mother, so I sat here, and not that she had to berate it,
Sure.
but like I saw in you something, and then did what I could to provide for you,
Right.
and that is your job as a teacher to
Yeah.
do that for the kids. You
For
know what I mean?
them,
Because
yeah.
he obviously chose that profession for a reason.
right.
Maybe it was just
Still
to be around
passionate. He's
music.
passionate about something, but he is kind of stuck in that like. That's all he can think about, and I think that was the point.
Right. But so he gets to the end of this speech, and he's being very vulnerable with his mom, and so she kind of just like flips the script on everything she's been saying for the past several years. 'Cause, I mean, I guess she finally understands him now, but at the same time, it seems like he had been expressing this to her over the years, but I guess just not in this certain terms.
She had never expressed to him where she was saying, like, you know what this did to your dad? Like, he wasn't, like, it... I mean, obviously, she supported him and the husband enjoyed it.
But it killed him.
You didn't see, like, what he was going through. And she was just like, I just don't want that to happen to you. So once they had that mutual understanding, then she could be more accepting of the gigging.
Right,
you
exactly.
Of the gigging.
Of the gigging. So yeah, their relationship restored, and they move on, and
good job, 22.
At this point, Joe and 22 are kind of having a falling out. Oh, never mind. Excuse me.
Hold on. At this point,
he's still being selfish, is what it is.
Terry, back in
the afterglow.
In the life.
Oh,
he's out there and he's going through the files. He realizes there are so many Garcias. And then, if you remember, Joe's last name is Gardner. So Joe Garcia Gardner would have been right there.
Right.
And that's where he finds out that it's Joe Gardner that's the person that's missing from the great beyond.
From the soul line.
So he goes up to the Jerry's and is like, all right, I'm about to do this. And they're like, oh no, this isn't going to be awful at all. This is not
They were just like,
disaster.
don't get spotted on Earth. You can't be spotted. And he was like, I won't be spotted. And I feel like when he's going through his line, he's like,
he's totally Mission Impossible.
Kind of like Kronk.
Yeah, kind of.
But he's just smoother because he's an otherworldly
Dude, and
being.
he's straight up, what's the thing from Doctor Strange where she goes like boom and pushes like the astral body out?
Yeah, like astral projection.
Okay, he straight up does that to that dude from the barbershop, and Andre and I were like, yo, you ruined this dude's life.
It's so
like,
funny.
Oh
poor
my
kid is
god,
gonna end up
traumatized.
The way that they shoot it is really cool because like Terry pushes him
out of his body,
but the body is also in this astral world, right?
Yeah.
So you see the body,
some kind of different dimension.
You see the body flipped over, and you see his little soul version of himself, and they talk for a little bit, and then he's like, "Oh wait, you're not Joe Gardner," and so he pushes him back into the body, and the body flips around, and his eyes are just wide open, and I was like, "Oh, you messed him up. You broke his brain. It's over. He's
no,
done."
Andre and I were both like, "Yo, you ruined this dude's life. He's never gonna." And then he's
Poor
like,
Paul can't go
he's
back to
like,
that barbershop.
he's like,
again.
let's just keep this between us. And he's like in the fetal position, like, what just happened
He
to
starts
me?
screaming and crying.
Some stick thing just pushed my soul out of my body.
And that is where he exits to the Poor State Mental Hospital.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye, Paul.
Poor
Sorry,
David
Paul.
Diggs.
Yeah, they was clowning him in the barbershop earlier that day, and now this. Basically
they
the same.
defeated him.
So Terry gets Joe and 22. He brings them back to.
But before this, they have a falling out, so that is important. So after they exit the mom's house, he is like, "Great job, my mom's had a good understanding of me. Now we're gonna go. We're gonna switch the body. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that." And she's like, "I'm not ready." She's like, I'm like living, like this is really cool. I'm not living. I need to figure out what my spark is. I'm here on Earth. I need to figure out what my spark is. And then once I figure it out, then you can do your thing. And he's like, no, we need to go switch the body like right now. And she's like, I'm not ready. So she runs away. And so she's like running to the subway. And that's where he like traps them both. So they're like already really upset with each other at that point.
Yes, they are angry souls. And so Terry brings them back. He's like, all right, this is what's happening. You're going here and you're going here.
Well, and he tells them when he's like, you cheated. Like, you're going to go die now, basically.
Yeah. Goodbye.
He says you cheated. I was like, oh, snap, he cheated death. Oh, no.
Right. I mean,
You remember what happened last time someone cheated death? In Harry Potter?
Oh.
No.
I'll fucking get over.
Unicorn blood, dog.
That was really good.
You're welcome.
What do you think what I was thinking?
What?
About that meme I sent you, or the video of that one girl who was saying she's this, and this, and then that guy's like, oh,
No.
I'll get over.
Memeology,
Um,
y'all. Luis wants to
Andre's
get his
really good at
doctorate
it.
in memes, everyone.
Yeah.
Andre, do the Avada
I
Kedavra.
just did it.
But do it again.
You gotta.
No, mine was better.
You're gonna wake up my kids,
Dude.
Yeah, stop telling
Michelle,
me to
yours
yell
was
in
the
the house.
best.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andre.
You know how many times I've done that in
No,
my
it's
sleep?
okay.
As I'm-
You're
So.
just killing people in your sleep.
Why not?
So even though Terry has sentenced Joe to death, I'm,
She killing curses you in your sleep.
No, not him.
Well,
People in my dreams.
there's. You're freaking weird.
Oh, I have bad dreams. Ask Andre. I
Man,
dream
I used
every
She Harry
day.
Potter kills
I used
them.
to have zombie dreams that
Got
were
to.
the best. Now I don't have them anymore.
I had a dream last night. It was not great.
I don't dream.
Oh, okay.
I live my dreams. Anyway,
Did you dream a dream that once gone
I
by,
dreamed the dream that once gone
Live,
by.
laugh, love.
or
I
a dream
hate
that was
you.
not worth living?
How does he get back into his body?
You had
I
a
don't.
dream
Goodness
that
gracious.
was-
Luis, stop singing Les Mis.
So, Joe and 22, they're back in the afterworld, and he he
Are
is
you just making up words over there? That is not how it goes.
At least I was closer, and I totally don't know what I was singing.
Okay, so, babe, he puts him back. He's like, you cheated death. Go over here, right? But he runs away.
Or the
He's
Aerosmith one.
running. He's running. He's running. He goes in the little box.
right.
And 22 is also in the little box. But she's like, hey, but I'm a failure. I'll never know what my... She was upset because she got her Earth badge.
Mm-hmm.
And so Joe takes her Earth badge because he's selfish.
Right.
Remember, she throws the Earth
that
badge
was
at him.
the
She's like,
agreement.
here's your stupid Earth badge. I don't even know why I got my thing. I'm so upset. And so he's like, fine. And he goes back in his body
Right.
on Earth. Okay.
She
And
runs
so
off.
at this point, they're like, okay, 22. And she's like wilding out in the zone as like a lost soul. She's like hearing all these negative thoughts. Like, I don't know what my spark is. My spark. You'll never
And
amount
she's
to
hearing
anything.
all of
Blah,
those
blah, blah.
mentors for thousands of years
Right.
telling her
That she's like
all of the negative
worthless.
stuff as to why she would never find her spark or what have you.
So when I don't remember how he gets in the zone. Was he playing the music and he got into his zone
Yes, so-
to like get in there?
So he gets back into his body, and it's after the show. He had already performed. He did great.
Yeah, see, that's why I was saying he's selfish. He did not care. He took her badge straight up and was like, okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
he
go.
went back to go do his gig.
That
Like
didn't bother
that's
you?
what bothers me.
That
That,
didn't bother you?
Not at
That
the,
he just left 22?
not at the moment because that
I'm
was
getting more mad talking about it than I did watching it.
because that was that was the whole deal with him, right? But he gets back, he goes through the whole show, he does a great job, he kills.
Yeah, he does.
But then afterwards,
No, Avada Kedavra kills.
he
Or stealing bread kills.
he destroys, but he still feels empty. Like he thought that he was gonna feel like he had made it, like he had reached the top. He asked Dorothea after the show, he's like, so what happens next? And she's like, we come back tomorrow night, we do the same thing. Are you ready? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that, sure. Let's go.
I was hoping for this like level of stardom to hit
Yeah.
and not to feel the letdown of after performance blues.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you a musician? Don't you know what this feels like after a performance?
come
You
down,
feel
man.
like crap. Like,
Yeah.
sorry about it.
Mhm.
It's done. The glory is over.
The adrenaline is gone.
And that moment is when he's like, oh, I guess maybe maybe
He
it
didn't.
wasn't
This
He
is
all-
didn't He didn't feel fulfilled like he thought he would. That's really hard to say.
He didn't
And
feel
you know
fulfilled.
why he didn't feel fulfilled?
Why?
Because he wasn't doing what his
Fulfilling.
actual spark was, which was helping people. And he probably felt like a little because he left.
Stop! What is happening?
Because he
Do
left.
this to me.
Because he left just 22. He was
She
like,
looked me
"Peace
right in the
out."
eyes and cursing to the mic.
He was like, "Peace out." Bye, 22.
Yes. So he starts feeling awful about it, right? He starts rummaging through his pockets that was in his suit.
Oh, it was
and
cute.
22, while in his body, had been collecting all of these
Like a
these
little
things.
kid.
Mementos.
Yeah, lollipops and the
Pizza
little
crust.
pizza crust.
Does it have in its pockets?
Yes, pockets.
Part of the
No
bagel.
rings. Yeah, part of the bagel and one of those little leaves that those the twirlies off the tree.
Pod thing.
Yeah, so
I liked that scene where she was just listening to the trees and the pods are falling down. And she was like, wow. I'm like, yeah, I get like that.
that was a
girl.
really good moment because I like remember that specific thing from my childhood and
Exactly.
being like amazed by that specific kind of tree. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
just living, man.
So she's experiencing it for the first time. And so Joe, when he rummages through all his pockets and he finds all this stuff and he sees the world through her eyes a little bit, he starts playing his piano. And he gets into the zone really easily because I don't know, it's just coming to him and he's feeling it. And so he goes into the zone. He appears as his soul self there. Right. Into the zone. Just like
He pops out of the zone.
just
into
like
the zone.
the flippy sign guy. And he's there
And literally finds the flippy sign guy.
finds
Flippy sign guy is always
he
there.
is
Dude.
he is always flipping that sign. Like 23/7.
He's a little
it's most
cuckoo,
of the day.
cuckoo.
So he's there, and
Even after hours, because let's be real, this is
It's
way after
late.
his shift.
it's late at night. Yeah, the shift is over. That lady stopped yelling at him hours ago. So
practicing.
he's
Practicing.
he's in there with
flipping
Flippy
the sign.
Sign, and they both realize that there's another lost soul out there, and it's 22. And so they have to wrangle her up so that they
She's
can
scary
so
right
that they
now,
can
too.
release her soul. And she's all over the place because once again she's one of the like most wisest and ancient beings in this place. That's not a Jerry or a Terry. So she's ripping and roaring all over the place and giving them a real run for their money and trying to capture her. But eventually they do get her and they do release her from her lost soul prison.
And they make
It's
it all
really
the way back out
sad,
into like
though.
the precipice of going back into the world. Like they make it
Yeah.
all the way out
right
into the
to
open
like
fields and
the
stuff.
the rim, the world rim or whatever.
The 300 world.
Yeah, this is After Earth or whatever.
The seminar.
Yeah. So when they arrive there and 22 is back in her old self or whatever, her Earth pass like finally fills all the way out, right? Or
Well, it's been filled out.
it's been filled out, but does it return to her? She has it.
She has it.
She
It's
has
her
it
Earth
because Joe came back, but he's still in a trance.
It's not his Earth pass. It didn't belong to him.
Right. So she has it because she's back, and she tries to give it away to him, right?
No.
That
No.
happened earlier.
That
No,
already
no.
happened.
So
She
she's
gets- he
still
gets
in
to
this
see
like
her off.
ethereal, like, I don't know what you call it. Like they're still in like the dust
Right.
monster thing.
In the
And he
zone.
has to like fight his way through all of those mentors like yelling at her. And he tries to get close to her enough to talk to her. And his voice is the loudest yelling at her. Like, I don't remember what he said.
Basically,
but-
like you'll never find your spark. Blah
yeah,
blah.
like that's just living. That's not like the spark. That's
Right.
just part of life. And he's like yelling at her in her thoughts, and so he has to overpower that and be like, "Hey, 22, like you're ready to live.
got this."
You can do it. You don't need to listen to these voices."
He talks her down basically,
Right.
and then she sets free. So then at this point, yes, she has her Earth pass, and the other ones know, and they're like, "Great job, Joe, you did it. You finally got her Earth pass. Now you get to see her off."
Right.
So they go to the Earth thing, and she's like, "I'm not ready," and he's like, "You are ready." And he's like, "I'll go with you." And she's like, "You know you can't do that." And he's
You won't
like,
make it.
"I'll never let go."
You're honestly making it more emotional than I felt at
I didn't
all.
cry though. I was like, okay.
I did not feel emotion at this point. I was like, all right, bye.
I was excited that it was happening and that she was going to Earth, but I think I was still assuming that we would see her
Yeah.
on Earth doing something, even as just like a baby or whatever. But they ride off towards the Earth, and Joe has to let go at a certain point because he can't follow, and she zooms down, and that's the last we see of 22.
Yeah. And then he's ready to go to his afterlife, so he's on the elevator. But Jerry comes and is like, it's not very often that we beings get inspired by somebody.
By
And
humans, yeah.
kind of as your reward for getting 22 out of here, we're going to give you a second chance at life. And he's like, sweet.
Nice.
And he's like, how you going to get it past Terry? and then it like
Oh,
it
yeah.
like squirts over to where Terry is, and like Jerry pops up and is like, "Hey Terry, how you doing?" And then like he's like, "What's over there?" He just like moves the abacus piece,
Okay.
and then Terry's like, "All right," and so
Counts off.
No,
he-
because at first I think short guy was like, "Wait a minute," and then the guy pops up.
oh,
Yeah.
So it's like,
well he
Remember when Terry gave himself an award for fixing everything?
oh, he made them. He forced them to give him an award.
Thanks, Jerry's.
that's too
Here's
funny.
the award that you have requested for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's basically the end of the movie, right? He gets back into his own body, and he fully intends on living it up to the fullest, being a teacher, I guess.
Yeah, and I think there's like some spiel in the background about like, just live your life.
Hey!
Hey, instead of chasing the paper. That should have been the credit scene, the credit song.
Seriously.
The Riri.
That's fine.
Maria,
Oh my God.
Maria, Maria.
That is what's his name, huh? T.I.
Yeah, it's T.I.
Yeah, and
T.I.
Riri.
so
Riri.
much.
So yeah, that's the end of the movie.
Speaking of, Luis and I agree that at this point, if this might have been too on the nose, whatever, but like they referenced Linda, I think her name was Linda.
Once.
No, twice.
Wait, who Linda?
Who the heck is Linda? Oh, his
It was supposed to be
ex-girlfriend
like
or
a
whatever.
flame of
Oh,
the
right,
past.
right, right,
Yeah, they
right.
kind of didn't really go anywhere with that.
Like,
I wonder if that's like a dropped plot or something.
like
that.
yeah.
Has
So
to have
that's
been.
so like either dropped plot, like he could have called her up or whatever. Luis was like, maybe he's like in an after credit scene saw Linda at like a freaking like coffee shop
and
or
decided
something
to live his life.
and sees that she has a baby,
Oh.
but she's
Oh.
single and baby might be 22.
That
I
would've
don't
been
know.
cool.
Like she's a 2-year-old.
Or
But
it
it's
could be like
22.
in, a couple years later.
Sure.
That's actually too
Oh, I thought
far-fetched.
maybe you meant like he saw Linda and like maybe he lost Linda because he was too focused on the one thing.
Yeah.
But like not living his life. But he saw Linda, but not with a baby. But he just saw her and was like, "I'm gonna take my shot. I'm gonna shoot my shot because 22 told me to live my life."
Well,
you
that,
know.
yeah, that could have happened.
I
Right.
wish,
But we
though-
wanted to see 22.
Yeah.
I
so
did.
that's where Luis put the baby in.
I didn't like. I don't think I needed to see her. Like
Well,
I
because
felt
it would have been like a middle-aged white lady voicing like a child.
Sure.
I don't know. I think I would have. It would have been okay, but I think it would have been a lot of expectations that if I didn't like how that 22 thing looked or sounded, I would have been like, "What?"
Maybe that's why they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like I think it could have been good, but it could have been like, like
Yeah, no, I
I
get
just
it.
think like too much because we had already seen her so much like that. That I mean, that's what the kids are gonna know 22 as. You know what I mean?
Right,
I
yeah.
don't think I personally needed it, but if you're right, if they had something little about Linda, like at the end, that would have been cool. It might have been a drop plot. You're right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like how she could have informed his past. Probably just him like leaving her or them splitting up because
It
of
honestly
his
reminds me
passions
of a
for
Christmas
music or
Carol.
whatever.
Like this whole
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
is a
yeah.
Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
Kind
Like,
of is.
right.
He got so into jazz and being a performer that he like forsook everything.
Right.
And he had to have the ghost of Christmas Great Beyond to
Well,
bring
and
him
I
back to
think
earth.
there was a moment
Bah
there
humbug.
where the barber was like, "It was so nice talking to you about something other than jazz."
Yeah.
Like there are people, I know people like that where it's like
Heck,
that
yes, I
is
do.
all they want to talk about.
Mhm.
It's like,
Mhm.
can you like live a little bit? There's some other things out
Mhm.
there, So
Mhm.
I thought that was interesting. I really liked that.
No,
too.
I agree.
Yeah.
Emily, where was the pizza truck?
Oh, let me tell y'all.
Oh.
Oh man.
Let me
you led
tell
with
you
where
I
about
was
looked
the
for it, but I
pizza?
didn't see it. But I'm sure it was like on the street when he was.
Let
getting
me
run
tell
over
you
or something.
about
You know,
the
yeah,
Easter eggs.
I wasn't thinking about Pixar Easter eggs in this at all.
Okay,
I'm sure
so
there
in
were.
the Hall of Everything, we see both the Pizza Planet truck and A113.
Mm.
So I have pictures, and I will post them. But you see those in two different spots in the Hall of Everything. You see the Pixar, the Luxo Junior ball
Mm.
inside of her 22's little area where she
Oh,
has all
okay.
of her
In her
camp
little
counselor
Her box
badges.
house.
And again, I do have pictures. There's also a point in which you see the Pixar lamp in the Hall of Everything.
Oh.
Mm.
in the background.
That makes sense.
You see a 2319. Do you remember 2319?
2319.
Yeah.
We got a 2319.
You see 2319 when Joe and Joe are in the subway and they give the bagel to the guy playing the guitar.
Oh.
The train's number is 2319.
I was so mad for that guy playing the guitar. As soon as that half a bagel got thrown in, I was like, come on now. He was singing better than that.
Better than a bagel. At one point, they go by the doctor. Oh, when they're in the hospital and the doctor's walking up to Joe's room, the room is labeled P742, which is supposed to be like
42 Wallaby Way.
yes,
Yeah.
Sydney. And then
P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way.
when they're doing the pizza scene where she's eating the pizza and there's a rat pulling a piece of pizza in the
Oh,
other
yeah,
direction.
yeah.
Pizza rat.
That's what do you call
Is
it?
it one of the Ratatouille rats?
Yeah.
What's his name, Emile?
Ratatouille.
Emil was the brother, but it didn't look like Emil, right?
No, it was just a rat pulling a piece of pizza.
Oh, okay. Cool,
But yes, that was what it was supposed to be.
Pizza rat.
There's
No
also all of the people's names on the mentor list wall, right? Because she had 7 million mentors or whatever,
Right.
and one of them was Joe Ranft,
Joe Ranft.
Ranft,
Ranft.
and
Ranft.
Ranft was an animation screenwriter and fellow Cal Arts alum to his Pixar contemporaries. He died tragically in a car accident at the age of 45 in the middle of the production of Cars, which he co-directed. His legacy as an inspiration was more than enough to earn him the title of former mentor of 22 in the latest Pixar efforts.
Oh.
I have seen this guy in documentaries before. I just looked up a picture of him.
So again, the Ratatouille fans, from Pizza Rat in The Little Chef,
Little Chef.
and then
He was...
there's a couple other ones, but most our normal, what do you call it? Our normal Easter eggs were all there.
The ones that you're usually looking
Is
for.
Ratzenberger has to be in this, right? Where was he at?
He's in everything, right?
It's good that you asked that because I have no idea.
Let's see. It shows him on the cast list, but it just says voice uncredited. So it must have been like a one-line thing that we must have missed.
He could have been someone in the
In the barbershop, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought it was interesting that they put David Diggs in there. I was, as soon as he started talking, I was like, David, is that you?
Is that you?
Is that you, Hamilton? Or not Hamilton?
Not
Jeff-
Hamilton,
Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Jefferson. So some of the people that were on the list, right? Her mentor list. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's over 50 that are confirmed.
Oh,
So we're not
okay.
going to go through all of them.
Pixar people, I'm sure, yeah.
Well, yeah, plus all kinds of other people, but Van Gogh, Nellie Bly.
I thought you were just going to say Nelly.
He ain't dead.
Mhm.
Leonardo da Vinci, Marvin Gaye, George Orwell, Joe Grant, Babe Ruth, Joe Ranft that we just talked about, Jack Kirby,
Oh, Kirby.
Harvey Milk.
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 Some other people I
Milk.
don't know how to pronounce their names. Stephen Hawking, Nelson Mandela, Abe,
Oh, good old Abe.
Catherine the Great, Joan of Arc, Confucius,
Oh, Confucius.
Say, Eleanor Roosevelt, Marie Antoinette, Gandhi, Johnny Cash, Harriet Tubman, Marie Curie,
The Tubbs.
Aretha Franklin, Muhammad Ali, Albert Einstein, Archimedes, Martin Luther King Jr., Pablo Picasso.
Mm.
Not just
Had
Escobar.
that Had to add that
Pablo.
real quick,
Escobar.
didn't you?
Sorry, I was just going to leave it, but then I realized.
Got
Just
some advice for
Pablo.
you, too.
And some others, but
Okay.
You say it's Plomo Oviedo.
Mike Oznowitz. I don't know if that's how you say it, but
Mike Wazowski?
Oznowicz was the father of Frank Oz,
Oh.
and Frank Oz is
He's Yoda and Miss Piggy. And
he's like a crazy puppeteer voice actor of things.
Confusing this is.
And so he was on there.
Sleepy,
because he was an influential comics artist.
Long podcast this has been.
This is a very long podcast.
Well, great. Can we even talk about Shmoney? How much? Well,
Well,
it has released in some theaters.
It has released in some theaters, so I have some very limited numbers here.
How much money did it take to make
This
this?
movie had a budget of $150 million, okay? And it has been in the box office in just a few select markets where box offices are open, in just a few countries, because I believe in the U.S. it's only on Disney+. So this movie has ranked in a staggering $7.6 million. That's from 10 countries.
That is really bad.
And 5.5 million of that has been from China. Now, I will let you know that it has been 4 days since this movie has come out.
Yeah,
that doesn't matter though. Usually,
Well, I mean, even
it still made
in an opening weekend, you know,
still would have made more than that
this movie probably would have been estimated to
make its money back.
get at least like 70 or 80 million at least on its first weekend, let alone its first run where they would want it to make like $1 billion, yeah. But for only being in 10 countries, you know, couple mil here, not too shabby.
And this is what we're talking about. Like, the future of movies is not in the theater, so some of these budget things are going to be kind of hard for us to talk about.
Right. For
Like,
movies that are
it's
released
not
in
going to be
theaters.
relevant to the platform it was released on.
That kind of makes me worried, though, that the quality might not be like the expectation of what we want,
Right.
and the expectation of what we might get may be not equivalent, because if I cannot imagine that we will still get the same quality that we're expecting and used to without the return that they're able to get.
This is kind of the reason why movies and TV are different in the first place. Because when a filmmaker is making a movie, they're making it to be seen on a big screen. Like that's the only thing that they're thinking about. They don't care how it's going to look on your phone. You know, they're making it for a gigantic screen that a bunch of people are going to sit in front of. And whereas TV is on a lower budget for multiple reasons, but also just because they only have to fit in your living room. You know, they only need to be produced as well for you sitting on your couch. So yeah, if we get to a world where every movie is made for your living room TV, movies are going to start to look and feel different than they have in the past, which is something that I worry about. Something that I'm not super excited for.
Which we did not have to experience now.
But at the same time,
it could be something we might need to.
TV has evolved, and TV
has gotten better, though.
So, like,
Agreed.
between, you know, the Game of Thrones and the Mandalorians, that
Yeah, I know you haven't seen Mandalorian season 2, but it
No,
is
we
like
have not.
theater quality.
right, it's TV that is much higher elevated than the TV of like
The
10 years
budgets are
ago.
higher for these shows.
Right, for sure.
And I mean, if they get subscribers, then they're making your money back. Because I remember we did the math the other day for like, okay, this many people subscribed to Disney Plus when Hamilton released.
Right.
Like, how much money did they make off of that? And it was like
Right.
a lot.
And that's
like
just a-
close to a bill.
Off of those initial subscriptions. So, you know, Soul was coming out, or, you know, around this time.
Sure.
And then that's, you know, 10 million times $7 or whatever for the month of December. And
Sure.
then all of
And
those
then
carry over for the several
In order
next
to
several
keep
months.
those subscriptions, they have to put out new content.
Right.
So they have to. It's gonna be. It's just gonna be a new.
Avenue.
Yeah, but I mean, Netflix has been putting out original content for years.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And now the gap between theater going and you know, it's watching movies and TV in your home is going to get narrower and narrower.
It's a theater in our house, baby. We watched Wonder Woman on that big TV the other day. It looks sick.
That's right. It looked pretty good.
Pretty good.
Not too
Okay,
bad.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Let's get on with tomatoes. Okay, this movie, thus far, has a certified fresh 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. The critics' consensus says, a film as beautiful to contemplate as it is to behold, Soul proves Pixar's power to deliver outstanding all-ages entertainment remains undimmed. It has an audience score of 89%. So pretty good all around. What are we rating Soul?
Luis.
Why do I always go first?
I don't know.
Well, you say the least, so maybe we want to hear you give
Speak about the movie.
Yeah. He yawned into his.
You can go last if you want.
To his mass mic.
I need a new nubbins. Mine smell funky.
I can bring in some no
Thank
nubs.
you.
Yes.
Will it be yellow?
I'd say maybe about.
I can
a
change the
7.
color.
I wasn't completely in love with it.
7.
Yeah.
Yee.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Indeed.
Andre.
I think I'm gonna give this movie I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I like this movie a lot. I really did like all of the afterlife stuff. I liked the way that they imagined it and visualized it. I thought this movie looked really cool in both the regular life scenes and in the afterlife scenes. And I think that all the performances were really good. I liked Tina Fey as 22 a lot, and Jamie Foxx. He kind of like melded into Joe for me. I wasn't thinking about Jamie Foxx the entire time I was watching this movie.
And I really
I kind of
appreciate
forgot it was
that.
him.
Right,
For a
yeah.
second.
Because sometimes when you have a big name like that, it's almost distracting.
Like
Right.
Ellen is Dory.
Sure, but I think she kind of blends into that role pretty well too. But yeah,
I think that
is
when
more
I first
distracting
saw
than
it,
this.
I didn't know who Ellen was, like as a kid.
Sure.
So it didn't make a difference to me. But like, if she was a different character now, I would be like, "That's Ellen," you know. But I agree with what you're saying for sure.
Yeah.
But Jamie Foxx did a really good job in this role.
Indeed. Yeah. So 8.5 for me.
I'm gonna give this movie an 8. It is good. It is solid. I liked it. There were some things I didn't like about it. Like, it's not my favorite Pixar movie.
Right.
I wouldn't go that far, but neither was Onward, really. You know, like these past couple that have come out, they're good. But after you hit me with the Coco, it was really hard to. Coco is really hard to come back after
That's
that.
true.
You know,
She's in
so,
love with the Coco, y'all.
and also, I didn't cry, and I usually cry in Pixar movies or feel like, like a little bit more. Like, I felt more.
I don't like that.
I felt more as we were talking about it than when I watched it. Whatever. I felt more in my soul as we were talking about it than as I was watching it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, I kind of like, you know how
Yeah.
like the deeper you think about something, the more you kind of like it. So I'm going to give it an 8, and I am going to watch it again. I want to watch it again. Emily.
I'm going to give it an 8 as well. I liked it, and I have the potential to like it more on the second viewing. I
Yeah.
really do think so.
Same.
I
I liked
to
Onward more on the second and third. So
Yes. I, in my mind at this moment, still like Onward more than this one.
yeah, me too.
But I think that I will like it over time. I think I just need to settle into it.
Right.
And I mean, I've disclosed before that I tend to be the one that's like on the first viewing, and then on the second viewing, I'm like, that's better.
Okay.
But that was definitely me with Brave. Like, I didn't like Brave for a long time. I was like, I'm not watching that movie. I don't really like it. And then
Because
as
you have parental
we
issues.
watched it again, I was
And
like,
once you get rid of your parental issues, you won't have a problem with that
and
movie.
then I was like, that is a good movie. Like, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you
Why?
do kind of have to grow into things. Anything upon your initial viewing, you're so like, there's so much stimuli that you're like, what's going on?
Right.
What?
Well, and
I'm trying
especially
to take
now
it
that
all
I
in.
know what's happening, I feel
Yeah.
like I was
You thought
questioning
it was
so
about
much.
soul food.
Excited to see all about that.
But 22 is, I really liked how they made the souls look. Just like floofy, like,
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
They
because-
kind of reminded me of the ghosts in Pac-Man a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without
I can see
being
that.
too ghost.
Sure.
yeah.
Right. It wasn't a ghost, but it was definitely not a person.
Joe's soul floof was like spot on.
Yeah.
Like, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. It looked
Was he
good.
wearing a real hat or was it a floof hat?
It was a floof hat.
It's a floof
It's
hat.
a
I like
floof
that.
Mhm.
Fedora hat. Floof and floof glasses.
Floof glasses.
Floof glasses.
I call it floof now.
All right, you guys.
Joe Floof.
It's
Floofy Joe?
Joe Floof. What's
We want to talk about this
Gardner.
exciting thing we have coming next week for our listeners.
That's right, you guys. We are now living in the world of 2021.
Everybody likes Fox movies. Wait, do we? I don't know. Do we?
So for the next few months, we're just gonna throw in a non-Disney produced movie. At least once a month.
But now owned
That
by
is on
rights.
Disney
yes,
Plus.
that is now on Disney
And
Plus.
things specifically on Disney Plus
Yes, correct.
for
So
your viewing enjoyment.
for next week, we will be watching the animated non-Disney film Anastasia.
You're welcome.
Once upon a day,
January.
This is gonna be January, but
January.
Can I
was
just
close.
say though that I'm very excited for Anastasia. But
Oh, I love this movie.
I am very excited for the movie we're gonna do after Anastasia, which is for your birthday.
Yeah.
The movie we doing for your birthday.
Oh yeah,
Stop it looking confused.
Rogue Tree, my lord.
Yeah, I know what we're doing.
Rogue tree.
Yeah, let's announce them all. I guess we
Dream Lord.
can do that. The movie after Anastasia, we will
I
be
picked it.
watching the 2016 live
It
action
was that long ago.
Star Wars film.
Shut up. It wasn't that long ago.
Rogue One, a
For
Star
Michelle's-
Wars story.
My favorite
A
Star Wars
Michelle's
movie.
birthday story.
Yes, like 4 Star Wars movies have come out since Rogue One, I think.
Well,
I want to be
Rogue One
honest.
is my
I
favorite
feel like this
Star
is the
Wars
last one that I saw.
Oh, really?
Maybe not. No, I'm lying.
Did
to
I
you.
pick all the? I kind of picked all the movies this month.
Yeah, you
I
kind
don't
of
know.
do
You
that
just
sometimes.
take over this podcast most of the time.
Yeah,
Hey,
just
you know
be
what?
like, These are the
Rogue
movies
One
we watching.
Is fantastic. It's
You
my
know why I'm excited.
favorite.
Nobody asked me why I'm excited.
Why are you
Why are you
excited?
excited?
Because I'm
our
only.
boys in it.
Which boy?
No boy, not Mads Mikkelsen. Go ahead, Ems.
No, boy.
Definitely not Mads.
I'm done, y'all.
Wait, who?
I
Mads-
got interrupted by the person who always gets interrupted. I'm done.
Welcome to my life.
Oh. Wait, the dude who plays the main dude?
Yes, Mads Mikkelsen plays Jyn Erso in Rogue One, a Star Wars
Jyn
story.
Erso.
Just so you guys know, Luis and I are both obsessed with Mads Mikkelsen right now.
He's awesome.
What show is he on?
He's on
He's on
Hannibal.
Crown?
Hannibal.
Oh, Hannibal. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
He plays.
Sometimes I forget
And he
you're watching
played-
Hannibal because you talk about the Crown a lot.
I know, but guess what? We finished both this week. What are we
Oh.
gonna do with our lives?
You're gonna watch The
Mando.
Queen's Gambit.
No, we're gonna watch Mando.
Oh, that's
we,
a good one.
We had to get rid of all of our freaking shows to be able to get to the show.
Yeah, so watch Mando.
Now,
watch
don't
Mando.
watch The Crown
Season
because you don't
2.
want to have to try to get through that fourth
You use
season.
the show to get rid of the show.
It was
Whoa.
the worst.
Well,
Oh
watch
my
Mando
God.
season 2
Interesting.
and then watch
The
Queen's
Queen's
Gambit because it's just one limited series.
It's all a lot of good TV.
And none of it is Disney. Well, I guess Mando is. but-
Yes, technically indeed. Okay, that has been it for this week's extra long Soul
I will
episode
say
of
that
the podcast.
felt good to talk about a Pixar movie again.
Yeah, we haven't done it in a while.
Felt good.
And we don't have any
I think
left.
Onward was the last one.
What?
When did
What
Onward come
about
out?
Planes? I know that's
It's
Planes
gonna
is-
be on Disney Plus eventually.
Planes is a Disney movie. It is not a Pixar.
It's not
movie.
Pixar though.
It's all the same.
Wow.
Okay.
Planes,
I'll
Fire,
tell
and
Pete
Rescue.
Doctor.
We own Planes,
Tell 'em.
Fire, and Rescue, and Louise loves it. I just said Rescue.
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 Find Rescue.
Fire
Yes.
and Rescue.
So
I want Eddie to
eventually we'll
watch
get to
Woke
Planes.
One.
Woke One.
Woke
Rogue
One.
One.
She's gonna be like,
Star
Mama, what
Wars
happening?
story.
Woke
Yeah,
One.
that one's-
We're doing.
It's pretty rough.
A chip of a chip.
No, we're doing Anastasia. Can't wait.
Yes.
Once
Anastasia
upon
next
a
week.
December.
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 In the meantime, you can keep up with us on social media. We
The
are
Walt
at Walt Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow us on the gram. Slide into our DMs. Let us know what's good.
And what's not good?
What's not good, you can send an email to contact@thewaltvaultpod.com. We'll read your message on the show.
Unless it's degrading, we will not.
That's true.
I don't
yeah.
know if we've ever got a
We
degrading
haven't
message.
gotten many degrading emails, but you know what? I'll read anything at this point. Send them in. Send me something. Let me know what's good.
You know what? I'm gonna create a profile, copy the
no.
definition of run from the
pity
online
email.
dictionary and send it to you. See if you'll read that.
See, I mean, I will. So I'm
You
like
are so weird.
opening my emails. write us a review on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcasts. Hit subscribe, hit that 5 stars. You know, that's the number of stars I'd write, or whatever number of stars you like, and leave us a review. That helps us get into more ears. And you can support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/The Walt Vault. Go there. We got some extra content going. It's very cheap. It helps us keep the lights on in here, and helps us do giveaways and stuff like that.
Yeah, giveaways.
All right, you guys. We're very we're very tired and very excited for what 2021 has to bring for the Walt Vault. So stay tuned. Be subscribed. We love you very much. The vault is now closed.